fields to the courts, and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson
on the Fan Upstate.
How did Kyrie Irving's latest return to Boston go for him? Well, not too good.
Cannot hear you guys.
I don't know, man.
Brandon, you got us?
There we go. Gotcha.
Okay, there we go. How did Kyrie Irving's latest return to Boston go for him? Well, not too good.
Mike, they can't contain the ball, and Boston is just relentlessly attacking off the drive.
Irving shot blocked. Brown again with the rejection. Jaylen Brown, a defensive demon here in the third.
Lack of help defense from the Boston Celtics on these Irving and Doncic drives. Jaylen Brown is everywhere right now.
37 minutes, 6 of 19 shooting, 0 for 5 from 3, 0 offensive rebounds, and just 12 points for Kyrie Irving as he comes back to Boston. Now plays them for the 12th time, Cole, since stomping on Lucky, the center court logo, as a Brooklyn Net. He is 0-6 in Boston. If you're telling me that curses aren't real, I'm calling you a liar today.
You know, he said it best last night. Kyrie Irving, when the game was over, said that for whatever reason, Boston has his number, not Dallas's number, but Boston has his number, and they do. You look at what Kyrie did last night. They guarded him in a way where he was not able to get into a groove. He was not able to get into a rhythm. I certainly did not expect this game to be as lopsided as it was. I thought that the Boston Celtics would win by 8 or 9. I just did not expect Kyrie Irving to be a no-show. But I think the big story, Diesel, is Kristaps Porzingis last night, 20 points after not playing in a long, long time because of injury.
Yeah, beautiful conditions out here at Thornblade Country Club. We're here for the second day of the BMW Charity Pro-Am. We're broadcasting live from the back patio. Beautiful, puffy, white, cloud-peppered skies, man. We have a fantastic view of the ninth green here. Cole, man, there's a lot of celebrities walking around. There's some delicious food going on inside. And what a place to be, man. What a place to be
Super
on
exciting.
a Friday for a live radio show. Love it.
Just so everybody knows, we will be potentially joined. We've been told that we have some guests that will be joining us here in a little while, like Seth Curry, like Philip Phillips, who was performing last night in downtown Spartanburg, like Marcus Jones, like Michael Collins of ESPN, who I'm a big fan of. So a lot of celebrities in the area, we have been told we'll have some on. Again, those are just projections. You know, it's just like an old point spread, Diesel. We expect to have them on, but we do not know for sure.
Yep.
But it's a beautiful day, man. Beautiful day at Thornblade. A much bigger crowd today than what we saw yesterday at Carolina Country Club.
That's true.
Like what, times 100?
Easily, man. The setup that they have outside, the amount of security that we had to go through to get in here, man, it would make anybody nervous. We had a fantastic day yesterday up at Carolina, today down at Thornblade. Just a stone's throw from our radio station. But, man, it's like being in a different world compared to being over at 25 Garlington Road. Last night, Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Celtics 107-89 for the Dallas Mavericks. Cole, the biggest issue for Dallas was that disastrous first quarter. They lost that first quarter 37-20, but they outscored the Celtics in the third and fourth quarters. They just couldn't dig out of that hole. So the Celtics lead the series now 1-0. Game 2 is on Sunday, Cole. 18-point margin of victory. I think Rob and I may have mischaracterized you yesterday on Twitter, but Rob and I both believed that Dallas would not win the game, but would cover that 6.5-point spread. And boy, were we wrong. 18-point margin of victory for Dallas. Luka had 30 points, P.J. Washington 14, Kyrie Irving just 12 points. But the problem is, Cole, that all 5 Boston starters and Kristaps Porzingis off the bench all scored at least 10 points. Jaylen Brown had 22, Kristaps 20 off the bench, Jason Tatum 16. It was a very, very lopsided game.
You know, what's so interesting about what happened last night was Kristaps Porzingis was a guy who had been on the injury reserve list, if you will. He had not played in several weeks. There were a lot of question marks coming into last night's game about if Kristaps would affect the team in a positive way, because sometimes after a guy's been out for a while, bringing them back in the lineup sometimes can disturb things instead of making them better. However, it didn't last night. He came out last night firing away. And I tell you what impressed me the most was not him just jacking up threes. He only shot 4 threes on the night. He made 2 of them, missed 2 of them. But his inside ability last night, playing only 21 minutes and being as efficient, plus 13 in the plus or minus category. There's nobody on the court last night that was efficient as Kristaps Porzingis. You knew what you were going to get from Brown and Tatum. Tatum had, like you said, had 16. So when you look at what Kyrie had compared to Jason Tatum, you say, okay, well, Jason Tatum had 16, Kyrie had 12. Maybe it wasn't such a bad night. Luka had 30, right? P.J. Washington, former Hornet.
Typically when that happens, you win a lot of games, just not against the Celtics.
And you scored 89, and Dallas has been scoring anywhere from 89 to 102 lately. But the problem is, as you said, Diesel, at the end of the very first quarter, when you find yourself in a 17-point hole, it's very tough to come back. They did cut it to 8 points from the Luka Doncic three-pointer in the third quarter. And when I saw that, Diesel, I thought, man, here we go. We've got a game. Luka cut it to 8. However, I'm not calling this series over yet, but Boston looks absolutely legit.
No, it's not over. An 18-point win for Boston. Certainly not the most lopsided victory ever in an NBA Finals. That honor goes to the 98 Bulls, who in Game 3 taught the Utah Jazz the meaning of the word pain with a 42-point win. But, Cole, if the Mavs can win Game 2 here in a couple of days, it would be the second largest loss in the last 5 years in the NBA Finals that a team bounced back from and actually won. In the last 5 years, only one team has rebounded from a loss this big and won the next game, and that team was the 2022 Boston Celtics. Let's take a look at some of that. 2023 Heat versus Nuggets. Game 1 was an 11-point Nuggets win. The Heat came back to win Game 2. 11 points, really not that big of a spread in the NBA. 2022, aforementioned, the Celtics versus the Warriors. Game 2, the Warriors had a 19-point win. The Celtics came back and won Game 3. In 2021, Game 3, the Bucks beat the Suns by 20 and followed that up with a win in Game number 4. In 2020, that was the bubble year, the Heat versus Lakers. The Lakers won by 18 points in Game 1. They won Game 2 as well. And then in 2019, Cole, the Warriors versus the Raptors. Game 3, the Raptors won by 13, and then they also won Game 4 as well. Certainly you can't say that there's any correlation whatsoever, but the point is when you've got a team who's playing well enough that they can beat you by 15, 20, 25 points in the finals, they are very likely to beat you again the next game.
Yeah, another issue last night, Dallas didn't shoot the ball well from the three-point line. 25% three-point percentage last night for the Dallas Mavericks. And they're a team, listen, they can get hot from three, but they're not a team that lives and dies by the three. You have to have Kyrie hit some exceptional shots, which he didn't last night. I thought that Boston spread the floor, did a much better job of spreading the floor last night when you look at what they did compared to Dallas. Dallas in a lot of offensive possessions last night just looked a little bit lost. And I don't know if Kristaps' defense in the 22 minutes he was in the game surprised and threw them off from what they'd seen on film lately. I'm not sure, but I'll just tell you this. Boston had 23 assists last night. Dallas had 9. Mm-hmm. That's a big margin when you talk about a team like Boston getting that extra pass, making that extra pass to the outside or inside. And obviously last night from what you saw from Dallas, they didn't spread the ball well. I didn't think Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic did a good job. Yeah, Luka had 30, but it just didn't look like a team with a lot of chemistry offensively. You got to give Boston a lot of credit defensively. But, man, when I don't care what happens in quarters 2, 3, and 4, when you come out in the first quarter, guns a-blazing like Boston did, you're going to win a lot of games, and they did certainly. They did that last night.
I know you as a fan of the city of Dallas and the teams from Dallas, you probably know more about this Dallas Mavs team than I do. How is that related to characteristically how they are moving the ball and picking up assists? Did you see just a little bit more of a selfish play of I got the ball, so I got to go and score right now?
Yeah, a little bit, and that happens when you have guys like Luka and Kyrie, when you have guys who are as ball dominant as they are. They play a lot of ISO ball, and when you play a lot of ISO ball and you're not efficient, your assist numbers aren't going to be there, and they weren't there last night. I think Kyrie and Luka, when those two are playing extremely well, like we've seen this playoffs, they can afford to be a little bit selfish. But, their bench, we talked about it yesterday. Boston's bench, we said that Boston had a deeper bench. When you have guys like Porzingis getting 20, Hauser getting 8, you look at Dallas's bench last night, Maxi Kleber had 2 points. Derek Lively, who was not a threat at all last night. I don't know where he was. He played 18 minutes, which is a little down compared to what he normally plays, Diesel. But Derek Lively is a guy that has had an impact in every game this season, especially this postseason. And I said yesterday, Boston's got to take away his lob threat at the rim. They've got to allow him to come back and shoot. Lively didn't even try to shoot last night. He was 1 for 1 from the field. He had no lob threats at all. 2 points on the night. We talked about it yesterday that he was the best pick of the draft. However, he didn't show up last night, and Kyrie didn't show up. And Diesel, when your stars are not showing up in the biggest finals game or the biggest games of the year, it's not a good recipe.
Speaking of Kyrie and shots, Cole, I don't know what was the better shot. The camera shot of him late in the game, sitting on the bench, sulking, the way that we've seen Kyrie do a lot when things are not going his way, or the shot from outside of the arena pregame where Celtics fans were parading the streets with a blow-up doll with Kyrie Irving's face on it, chanting, bleep Kyrie, bleep Kyrie. They tossed this thing around. They beat it up. I mean, that's typical Boston frat boy behavior, but I'm here for it. It's the NBA Finals. Let's go. I love it.
I tell you what, I have to correct myself. A couple of days ago or about a week ago, there was a topic and an argument and a debate going around on who had the bigger impact, who was the bigger impact player for the Celtics, Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. And I think I heard this on a national show about a week ago. And obviously we as fans of the NBA think, of course Jason Tatum has a bigger impact on the Celtics than Jaylen Brown does. But Diesel, I think I'm changing my mind. I think Jaylen Brown, after what I saw last night and what he's done all finals, or all postseason rather, 7 of 12 last night, so efficient from the floor, played 37 minutes. He played really good defense last night, 6 of 11 from the free throw line. He spreaded the ball out well, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, I believe, and 3 steals. So you saw Jaylen Brown give Luka Doncic a lot of bad looks. And you know what? I'm starting to change my mind that Jaylen Brown for this Celtics team. Yeah, Jason Tatum's a star. Don't hear me wrong. Jason Tatum is the guy in Boston, but it seems as if when you talk about the more impactful player for the Boston Celtics, I think Jaylen Brown is the more impactful player, man. He's been phenomenal this postseason. Without him, obviously the effort from Porzingis was incredible, but without him, this Celtics team isn't the same.
So, Cole, I want to hear some audio here. This is audio cut number 1, Jason Kidd addressing his team in the locker room after that Game 1 loss. And then after this, I want to get your thoughts on how you think Game 2 might play out.
Okay?
The third, how did we do? We won the third. Okay, how did we do in the fourth? No. No, we won the fourth, right? You understand that? So we got to build on it. Right? We got great looks, our trust. When we pop, right? When we're wide open, L throws it to you. What can you do? Catch and shoot, right? When you're wide open, let it fly. Does anybody come out of the game if you don't let it fly? Right? You come out if you don't let it fly, but you got to catch and shoot. Shoot with confidence. You make it or you miss it, and guess what? You run back no matter what on defense. It's only Game 1. It's a series. Remember that, okay?
Yeah, he's trying to bring his team back into this thing, Cole, saying things like, we won the fourth quarter. We won the fourth quarter. Don't be afraid. Take your shots, but make those extra passes first so that you can open up and shoot those shots. He goes, I'm not going to take you out of the game for shooting shots and missing. I'm going to take you out of the game for not shooting shots that you should take.
So I absolutely love what Jason Kidd what Jason Kidd said. And I know some people may push back on what he said because it does seem like, you lost a game. Why are you praising your efforts in the second half? But Jason Kidd, he's 100% right when you look at the second half. They did outscore Boston in the third and fourth quarter. I do think that game was a lot different after the second quarter last night. If you watch the game, Porzingis and that team got out to an incredible start, 17-point lead, like I said in the first quarter. Listen, when you talk about Game 2, Diesel, I think Boston's still a legitimate threat. I do not think this series is over. I think Dallas comes back and wins Game 2. I do trust Luka Doncic, okay? I think that when Kyrie loses, you're going to see a much better game from him. Yeah, this game was lopsided in the first quarter, but the final score, again, in the third quarter, Luka hit a 3 to cut it to an 8-point lead. This game's not over, or this series isn't over, and I think Dallas-Boston Game 2 will be a much tighter affair. I like Dallas to win on Sunday. I really do. I think they come back and win Game 2. Diesel, when you have guys who are superstars like Luka, he knows what it takes. Like, this isn't him as a rookie. He's been in the league long enough to know now how to get better. He's disappointed. Kyrie, I saw his post-game interview. He was disappointed. Dallas will win Game 2. I'm telling you, mark it down.
Really?
I like Dallas in Game 2.
So you're saying the comeback happens.
Yes.
Again, 18-point margin of victory here in Game 1. That would be the second largest margin of victory, or a margin of loss from the previous game, that you come back and win the next game. That would put them right on par with the 2022 Celtics, again, who lost by 19 points in Game 2 to the Warriors and came back to win Game 3. It's incredible, though, Cole, as I was going back, looking year by year, looking at these results, how many lopsided games we see, even in the NBA Finals. You know, you'll see a series where every game is lopsided, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the team is going to sweep and win every game by 15 to 20 points, but you'll see a lopsided game where Team A would win by 15 or 20, and then the next game, Team B would win by 15 or 20. So the game of basketball, you know, it is such a game of when you're hot and you're on, keep feeding the guy that's hot, and you are basically unbeatable if you've got somebody on your team who is shooting like that. One of my favorite golf YouTubers out there, his name is Rick Shields. He has a quote, Cole, that he says every time he is hot and he's putting well, he says, when it's your day, it's your day.
Yeah.
And last night, especially in the first quarter, the first part of that game, it was the Boston Celtics day. And as much as Dallas could do in the third and fourth quarters to win both of those quarters, they just couldn't dig out of that hole.
Digging out of the hole is the key. Okay, if you could cut that game last night to a 1 or 2 possession game, that game automatically, in my opinion, would restart. It would kind of reset, and I think Boston might have been in trouble last night. I really do. If they could have got it closer, they couldn't. So again, Luka, he's going to figure it out, man. I have 100% trust and faith in Luka.
Quickly, we go to the phone lines and we go for our daily Dewey. He's got some thoughts on Kyrie Irving. I can't imagine, Dewey, you have something very positive to say about Kyrie. What you got?
Kyrie Irving is the best player in basketball. Y'all need to lay off. He's going to be better than Michael Jordan and LeBron James put together.
So, Dewey, I'll answer by saying this. And I know the Dewey calls are like tongue-in-cheek calls, right? You can't really take them serious. We appreciate your call, Dewey. I do think Kyrie Irving is one of the most talented and skilled basketball players to ever play in the NBA. I do. Has he been consistent through his career? Absolutely not. He's let far too many distractions and sideshows keep his distraction away from the game. In my opinion, if he had stayed with LeBron Diesel, Kyrie he'd probably have 1 or 2 more rings. He's so phenomenal. However, last night he just had a really, really bad night.
Yeah, he is. I've always looked at Kyrie as a phenomenal talent with just a bad attitude who doesn't want to be liked.
Yeah.
By the viewers, by his teammates, by everyone in the media. He's just not interested in that. And Cole, there's a difference between, you know, compare him to somebody like Kobe, who could be a little chippy and who could be very, very intense when it came to dealing with the media. Yeah. But he won a lot more games than Kyrie Irving did. So the narrative on somebody like him changes. And, you know, you just have to think, man, what if Kyrie could just shine it on a little bit and make people love him? He would be beloved as a player in the NBA. But unfortunately, with his lack of success without LeBron and his bad attitude, I'm not sure that he's going to go down as a top 20, 25 player in the NBA history.
It's going to be interesting. I think he's one of the most skilled, but his attitude and what he's done, in my opinion, has hurt him. I'm looking, before we hit a break, I'm looking at the leaderboard for the BMW Charity Pro-Am, which we are at right now at Thornblade Club. Not a lot of names that you recognize. I did have some slightly bad news this morning, and I'm going to check to see if that's changed. Diesel, our boy, Charlie James, coming into the morning, He was right around the cut line. So I'm not sure where he is now. I'm scrolling down. He is in tier 5. They have him broken up in different tiers, if you will. And this morning he was right around the cut line. He was going to have to shoot really, really well. Have to play really, really well today in order to make the cut. And I'm scrolling down, and unfortunately, I don't see him. Oh, I do see him. Okay, so our boy Charlie James not going to make the cut. He is tied for 62 right now. He is total -3 through 5, so there's still a lot of golf to play. He's over at Carolina today. He shot a 69 yesterday here as a team. They did. I'm sorry, that was as a team, so not a bad score, but man, there's some stiff competition.
I tell you what, Cole, if you don't get to carry Charlie James's bag, you can carry my bag any day.
Is that right? You don't mind?
I don't mind. I'll let you do it. But, remember it is pick it up, shut up, and keep up.
Yeah, I'll pass.
No,
I'll pass.
Whatever.
You offered that. That's nice.
I did. I want you to have that experience one of these days.
It doesn't sound enjoyable. I'm not doing it because it sounds enjoyable. I'm just telling you, he asked me, and we appreciate him doing so.
I will call you if you do agree to do this, Cole. I don't know if this is a kicker. I will call you Mule for the day. Yeah, Mule.
That's my favorite movie. Probably one of my favorite movies ever. The Mule.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Blanking on his name.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood movie, yeah.
Yes. Where he directed it. And yes, it was
a good movie.
It's a great movie. I love it. All right, college baseball scores. The Super Regionals did kick off today. We'll let you know who's winning. There are some lopsided games already going on in college baseball. Also, our thoughts on Clemson tomorrow on the other side. This is Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. from South Carolina. Diesel informed us that he's the Chris from South Carolina that calls into Paul Feinbaum. And, I see a lot of South Carolina callers every now and then on Feinbaum, but that's fantastic. Good to meet Chris. Shout out to him. So some lopsided scores, and I mean when I say lopsided, Diesel, right now, we knew that Florida State was an interesting team here in the Super Regionals. Obviously, they have a rich history, a rich tradition, but Florida State right now in the top of the 8th inning, I'm not sure what the spread was in this game, what the run line was, is what you call it in baseball, but it is 24-1.
Yeah,
Florida State.
On the back of, so far, top of the 8th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 home runs for the Florida State Seminoles.
Not bad, right?
5 home runs.
So UConn, they're going to have to really muster up some confidence after this, because I know in these 3-game series you still have another game, another crack at it. But, man, 24-1 Florida State over UConn, that's shocking. That's not the best. That's not good. So Florida State, listen, they're a good team. I don't know that I've seen a team score 24 runs in a Super Regional in a long time, but that's impressive. Tennessee, Diesel?
Well, one of the big things that's really hurting UConn right now, I mean, besides the fact that they've given up 5 home runs and 17 hits, Cole,
and they're not hitting,
is that they have left 8 runners on base. They're putting people on base. They're just not getting them around. That's the big problem. Florida State could be up a lot more on this right now because they've left 7 runners on base.
I was going to say, even if UConn would have got all the runners in, it'd be 24-9.
Yeah.
So good luck, UConn. Good luck. That one might be over. You think? Tennessee over Evansville right now, 1-0 in the top of the 2nd inning. Tennessee, obviously a team that we've talked about a lot, Diesel, over the past few weeks. In my opinion, the favorite to win it all. I just think that there's no complete team out there right now like Tennessee. When you look at their pitching, when you look at their lineup top to bottom, they're coached so well. And they're going to be a tough team to beat. I think they're a lot for Omaha.
Yeah.
Evansville might not be much competition for them.
Yeah, Tennessee gets there on the back of Burke, who had a solo home run to right center in the bottom of the 1st inning. So, I mean, still a lot of time to play. Evansville, the Purple Aces, you could say that they are America's team in this one because they are the smallest college, the smallest school still left in this tournament. I mean, I'm rooting for Evansville over Tennessee. I want to see them take down the big boys. I always love seeing that happen. But I don't know that they've got the power to get past the Vols on this one.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
It's a good story. They made it to the Super Regionals. Good story for Evansville, but I think their road comes to an end. Tonight, in just a little while, Diesel, which, in my opinion, will be one of the better games this weekend, West Virginia, North Carolina, 6 o'clock. This one's at North Carolina in the Chapel Hill Super Regional. North Carolina's a team that did get tested last weekend. They had a couple of close games. I still think North Carolina is a good team. However, earlier in the week when you and I were going through these, I don't know if you remember or not, you kind of did rapid fire. I like West Virginia in this series. I like them to get to Omaha.
Well, you know me. I got to pull for fellow Mountaineers. I don't ever pull for North Carolina. After committing 30 years of systematic academic fraud, there's no way that UNC is getting any support from me.
Well, I don't blame you. You shouldn't. You shouldn't. And then the last game tonight is Kansas State and Virginia. This one is in the Charlottesville Super Regional. That one is at 7 o'clock tonight, Diesel. So we'll continue to watch the Tennessee-Evansville score, and boom, just like that, as I talk about Tennessee being almost unbeatable, in my opinion, Evansville, with a 2-run shot, they now lead Tennessee 2-1. So Evansville, man,
team of destiny.
They may have heard me and say that. Said, okay, screw you, right? Tomorrow, a lot of games tomorrow. Tennessee-Evansville game 2, which in my opinion will be the final game. I do think that they will I think they'll get put out tomorrow. Okay, then you have Florida State UConn game 2. NC State Georgia tomorrow at noon. I think that's going to be a fascinating series. I really do. I love what NC State has done this postseason. Oregon A&M at 2 o'clock. And then also at 2 o'clock, the other 2 o'clock game tomorrow, one we've talked about and we'll continue to discuss, Diesel. Clemson in Florida tomorrow. I know that we've talked about this Clemson pitching staff, the Clemson rotation, many times this week, but you got to feel good with what Tristan Smith has done this season. Yes, he was out for a little while because of injury, but behind Tristan Smith, this Clemson team is really, really good. I don't want to say they're unbeatable, but Tristan Smith, in my opinion, by far the best arm on this rotation. It seems as if tomorrow, as I said yesterday, is kind of a must-win because you don't want to lose a game where Tristan Smith starts. Clemson, Florida, tomorrow at 2. We can park on that one for a second, Diesel. I think that the atmosphere at the regionals were absolutely incredible, but what could be this weekend, early June, at Clemson for Super Regionals? Listen, Florida fans are going to show up. They're going to be there.
Yeah, they will.
This place tomorrow is going to be absolutely fantastic. I think it's going to be close. I think it'll go 3 games. I think all 3 games will be close, but, that home field, Clemson might have a little bit of an edge.
I think you'll be able to tell them apart because both sides are going to be wearing orange. You're going to be telling them apart by which ones are fall down drunk and which ones have a carton of milk in their hands. The Clemson fans, they're going to be kicking it. It's completely sober for this game, but I think Florida's going to be partying. They're going to be rowdy. Not going to be a massive contingency down there at Doug Kingsmore, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to be heard in this game. They really, really will.
I want to go, not to get down a rabbit hole here, Diesel, but something that surfaced Twitter just a few weeks ago, I believe it was last week. There was a sign on Death Valley that got a lot of stir up on Twitter, as it was the city, or the county rather, the city of Clemson and the Pickens County together, where you have to post a sign anytime someone applies for a liquor license. So that sign was on the outside of Death Valley. Obviously, it was all over Twitter last week. There were several reporters that said, look, this is just for the suites and club area at Death Valley, which I've heard to be true. It's not, from what I've been told, it's not going to be open to the public. It's just for the suites and the club level for them to serve liquor. But, I think Clemson baseball games in general, it's crowded. It's a good atmosphere, but this is a stadium that doesn't sell alcohol. So, I'm not saying you have to have alcohol in order to have a good time and be rowdy, but
it helps.
It helps fans get – listen, it's not always a good thing, but I'm just saying that college baseball stadiums that do sell it, there's a difference. Coastal Carolina does. I was talking to a parent from Coastal Carolina. His son was pitching, and he said, I can't believe Clemson doesn't sell alcohol. He couldn't believe it. He said,
it's a huge revenue stream they're leaving behind.
I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know what their reasoning is for it, but it's quite fascinating that they do not sell it.
Yeah, we got an email from our boss this morning, Cole. He was at a dinner event last night with Dabo. I think it might have even been at Dabo Sweeney's house, and I asked him. I was like, "Hey, were they serving the top shelf stuff?" He goes, "No, there was no alcohol at this party." So there's something about Clemson, man. They're trying to keep it sober down. Be sober, be safe.
Last night was a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event at Dabo's house. So I guess that's why it's probably a good excuse.
Hey, I have plenty of people in my family who are Christians and they drink, so sure. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm telling you, Dabo, not everybody's the same, right? Not everybody's the same. All right, getting back to baseball. 2:00. Clemson, Florida tomorrow, and then you have 3 games after that, 3, 6, and 8, Virginia, Kansas State, Oregon State, Kentucky, North Carolina, West Virginia. Diesel, of the teams in the Super Regionals this weekend, we've talked about a lot of them, okay? We've talked about a lot of teams. Tennessee, obviously Clemson, Florida State looks mighty impressive today, but if you have to pick 1 or 2 that you say, okay, I know that this is a 3-game series, but I really like these teams, 2 or 3, how many ever you want, to be playing in Omaha after this weekend. Who would you say your locks are? And then I'll give you mine.
Locks. Okay, I'm looking, obviously, now we're looking at Florida State as a lock. I mean, I don't see UConn really coming back from this one in tomorrow's game, but Florida State looks like a lock. I think Tennessee is a lock. I see probably Virginia as a lock. Kentucky.
Okay.
So Kentucky, Virginia,
so you got
Tennessee
4?
and Florida State. And then I say Oregon, Texas A&M, that's a toss-up series. Georgia, NC State, that's a toss-up series. Florida, Clemson, I do think Clemson will win that game, but I'm not going to go lock on that one. And then I think this North Carolina, West Virginia series could be really interesting.
It could be. I like your picks. I do think Tennessee is a lock to get in. I know right now they're losing to Evansville 2-1. That's still early, still top of the second. I like Tennessee to advance. I would say Tennessee's a surefire lock for me. I do think Virginia is as well. So there's 2. I want to say Clemson. I really do. But the Bats of Florida, they do concern me. Kentucky over Oregon State. I do think Kentucky's a lock. I have no doubt about that.
I think this is a Clemson pitching staff that has to find another gear in this series if they want to lock this thing down. Clemson's bats are good. Florida's bats are good. Florida's pitching is really good. Clemson's pitching is a little bit suspect. I think Clemson offensively is a little better across the board. We looked at the stats all season long. They're a little bit better across the board. But that is probably due to, a shaky start for the Florida Gators early in the season. I do think, though, that Clemson will ultimately get it done.
The starting pitchers have been announced for this series. On Saturday for the Florida Gators, you'll have right-handed pitcher Liam Peterson going against left-handed pitcher Boiling Springs product right here in the upstate, Tristan Smith. On Sunday, Clemson will throw Aiden Canuck. Sunday, Florida will throw left-handed pitcher Jack Caglione. So there's your pitching matchups. Obviously, Monday is to be announced. We don't even know if there's going to be a Monday game because obviously one of the teams has to force 3. I think there will be a Monday game. I think this game, or this series rather, does go 3 games. Clemson, which has a 30-6 home record, Diesel, they've won the Clemson, the regional last weekend. They're averaging 8.1 runs per game. They're hitting as a team 299 with a 512 slugging percentage. They're getting on base at a high clip as well, 401 on base percentage, 58 steals, pretty aggressive on the base path. Real quick, you mentioned the pitching staff. The pitching staff as a whole coming into this series in the Super Regional has a 4.45 ERA, 244 opponents batting average, which that's not bad, and a 242 strikeout to walk ratio. Clemson fielding right now 968. Compared to Florida right now, they are hitting 273 as a team, so they are not hitting the ball as well as Clemson is. 981 fielding percentage. However, Jack Caglione's the guy we've talked about, Diesel. He is hitting 410 with 31 home runs, 63 RBIs, 75 runs. He's the guy to watch.
We're not making a big enough deal, I don't think, about Jack Caglione being a two-way player, being a pitching leader and a hitting leader for the Florida Gators. I mean, I certainly am in no way, shape, or form saying that he is the next Shohei Ohtani, because that's a ludicrous thing to say. However, Cole, we're seeing now a handful of guys who are elite at both hitting and pitching. It used to be you would get to that high school level, you would get to that college level, you would start specializing, and they would shut you down at one or the other. But, when transcendent talents show themselves, like Jack Caglione, you just got to let them eat on both sides of the plate.
And he does. He's really, really well. Clemson, by the way, Diesel, they're 12-18 against Florida. Series record, if you will, the last meeting, 1983. The series is tied at 1-1 at Clemson.
That's one of those stats that I find hard to fathom. Why has it been that long? Why has it been 41 years since these two teams have faced off?
And a total of the 25 of 30 meetings between the two teams have been played at Florida. So it's fascinating. There's not a lot of history as of late between these teams. Clemson in 1958, when the NCAA tournament was in Gastonia, they did defeat Florida that year 15-14 and then 3-1 to advance to the Omaha. Kevin O'Sullivan was the first pitching coach at Clemson from 1999 to 2007. A lot of history between Kevin O'Sullivan, Jack Leggett, Eric Bakich. This series is going to be a lot of fun.
Tell me, man, what was going on in Charlotte and Greenville and Spartanburg and Asheville? What was going on in all those cities at the time when they were holding NCAA tournaments in Gastonia?
Gastonia. If you go up 85, I guess it was that field on the left. You know what I'm talking about? Right off the right?
I do.
I guess it was there.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because it doesn't seem like that big of a ballpark, but back then, it probably was a really nice one.
Hey, back then, if you could seat 25, you had a big ballpark.
Sure, that's right.
Was crazy. Hey, when we come back, Cole, let's take a quick look around the sports world, some of the stories that definitely deserve to see the light of day. Our Daily Wires coming up next here on 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, and everywhere you are on the free Odyssey app.
Upstate.
High atop the balcony at Thornblade Golf Club here today for round 2, second day of the BMW Charity Pro-Am. Cole, we are hoping to get on a handful of these different celebrities who are moving around here today. We have, as of right now, plans to bring on Seth Curry, Charlotte Hornet, and, of course, brother Steph Curry, Philip Phillips from American Idol, who played a concert last night in Spartanburg, the actor Don Cheadle, who you would know as, an Avenger. We could have an Avenger on the show later today. I know his work, of course, from the College Humor Captain Planet videos. Those were fantastic. Michael Collins from ESPN golf analyst.
I love Michael, man.
Marcus Jones, Patriots corner, 2022 third-round pick, could be joining us on the show today.
Hey, real quick, Philip Phillips last night was really good. I got a chance to go down there and slip downtown Spartanburg, and first of all, huge crowd last night, and saw some listeners down there. So for those that saw me and spoke to me, good to see you guys there. He put on a good concert. It was a packed house.
Cole, let's take a look at what's going on around the sports world, kind of a whip around to see what's happening. We call them our daily wires.
Bzz.
Yes. NBA Finals last night. Celtics took Game 1, 107-89 in Boston. All 5 starters and Kristaps Porzingis off the bench scored more than 10 points. Porzingis had 20 off the bench, and it was on the back of a really strong first quarter for the Boston Celtics that they were able to get it done against the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie Irving did not have himself a game last night. He was looking pretty glum on the sidelines. Going down to Atlanta, the Braves scored 3 in the 8th to win 5-2 over Washington on the back of 7 hits. Marcell Ozuna and Duvall both hit home runs in the game. Ozuna now leads the NL with 18 home runs this year, Cole. As much as we talk about the team being down, feeling like we're hitting the panic button, there's still like 10 games over 500, right? Like people hitting the panic button on that. I think a little early on it. Reynaldo Lopez went 6 innings last night, giving up 6 hits and 2 earned. He has a 1.85 ERA on the season.
You know what's funny about the Braves? You and I did a segment before the season started about how many All-Stars there'd be. I say you give Reynaldo and I say you give Reynaldo obviously an All-Star, and I tweeted out last night, thank you, Marcell Ozuna, for actually being one of the only Braves that's shown up this season. For all the crap that he's gotten over the years from Braves fans, he has been really good this year. And let's be honest, he's the reason the Braves have won a lot of these games.
Update on some of our college baseball scores in the Super Regional round. Florida State is up 24-3 on UConn. That as we are going into the top of the 9th.
Did they cover
in that game? Yeah, I would say so. Evansville leads Tennessee still 2-1 in the top of the 3rd inning. West Virginia, North Carolina, first pitch night. It is 6 o'clock, and then Kansas State and Virginia at 7 o'clock this evening. Cole, here's a scary one for you. Chiefs were forced to cancel all practice activities yesterday after defensive end B.J. Thomas suffered a seizure and went into cardiac arrest during a team meeting. Update on that story, Tom Pelissero tweeted around 12:45 today that B.J. Thompson is awake and responsive, so that's really good news to hear coming out of the Chiefs camp. Former NBA guard, former NFL player Delonte West, who finished his former NBA guard Delonte West, who finished his career in Dallas, was arrested and jailed in Virginia yesterday on misdemeanor charges of violating conditions of his release and resisting arrest. Police attempted to serve him a warrant. A pursuit ensued, and then police found him unresponsive after losing sight of him during the chase. West has been public about his battles with bipolar disorder. There was a really great story about Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, really trying to help him out. We are feeling for him and hoping that whatever it is he's going through, he can move past it. Finally, Cole, Wes Welker said he is glad he wasn't there at Tom Brady's roast. He caught the 4th highest number of touchdown passes from Brady after Gronk, Julian Edelman, and Randy Moss. He said that he was asked to sit on the side and get roasted but not actually present. And he said, nah, that's not for me. I think to each his own.
I think Wes Welker was the only one that night that actually made the right decision. I mean, sitting it out, fantastic, and some really good daily wires there. Obviously, as we get through the summer, those will decrease and decrease. But don't worry. Don't worry, guys. August is coming, just 2 short months from now. Diesel, I really want to hope we have Seth Curry on today. I really want to ask him a couple of questions, but the main question that I want to ask Seth, if he does join us today, is: look, you're in Charlotte, right? Your dad played there.
Mhm.
Let's bring your brother. Give this team some hope. You both finish your career in Charlotte, where your dad played. It's a feel-good story. Go from West Coast to East Coast, and for once in a long time, Diesel, Hornets fans would have something to cheer for.
I can't remember the last time the Charlotte Hornets were relevant. I mean, I'm thinking all the way back to the Alonzo Mourning, Muggsy Bogues days. That might be the last time, they were a really compelling and interesting and relevant team.
That's sad, isn't
It
it?
is.
I mean,
that's my childhood. That's the last time. And I mean, how often have you seen, Cole, and you see it in social media posts, people showing off Hornets gear from the 90s? The color scheme was beloved.
Yeah.
The roster was beloved. And I can't think of a franchise that has squandered that kind of brand power and brand recognition the way the Charlotte Hornets have, and they're right there in the heart of basketball territory.
They are.
Why is it that a state that enjoys so much college basketball success cannot give NBA fans a winner?
Want to remind you can text the show 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Texter says, ever since the real Hornets moved to New Orleans, both teams have been cursed. Good point there, Texter. I mean, look, my point to Seth Diesel is going to be, hey, man, the Warriors dynasty's over. What's the game? I mean, listen, I know living in the Bay Area is phenomenal, but, hey, Lake Norman's not terrible. There's a lot of
capital of the world right there in Charlotte.
There's a lot of celebrities that live in Charlotte. Come down, come over, and find you a nice property on Lake Norman. You can buy Denny Hamlin's old house that he moved out of. And, look, I say let's end it. Both Curry brothers on the same team, and let's end it in Charlotte and give Hornets fans maybe a little bit of hope for bringing some free agencies here, or some free agents here to play with Steph. That'd be a lot of fun.
Hey, if he could fix the cracks in the foundation of Dale Jarrett's house on Lake Hickory, he could buy that.
Yeah, I don't know that Lake Hickory is much of as enticing as Lake.
No, it's funny, Dale. I remember as a kid, they started building this house, and it was out on the point, because of course it is. It's a NASCAR driver's house, right?
Yeah.
They built it out on this point. There were rumors that other drivers were going to move out to Lake Hickory as well. It's an hour outside of Charlotte, hour and 15 minutes outside of Charlotte. So Dale Jarrett builds this massive house, and no one else does. They all start building and buying on Lake Norman, and there he is by himself with this monstrosity of a house that is crumbling and falling into the lake.
Speaking of lake, we are sitting at Thornblade Club on the patio outside of the clubhouse, just looking over the green of hole number 9, as well as a beautiful pond. I love this show. I love you, Diesel, but I'd much rather be down there casting a line. Hate to tell you.
Yeah, the question is, Cole, would you fish up here next to this wooden wall, or would you rather fish underneath that tree line?
Summertime, I'd go against the wall over there on that far side. I'd look for a deeper area. If it was spring, I'd be up here in the trees. But I'd try to find the deepest part, and that's where I'd be this time of year. It's tough this time of year, man. Those things don't eat a lot this time of year. I mean, we could spend 3 hours on bass fishing the next little bit of the show, but we might not have a show when we come back.
We'll have to do an extra podcast for that.
Absolutely. All right, on the other side, we may have a guest join us. We don't know. We're playing that by ear, but I want to get back into Dan Hurley. The latest update with him and the LA Lakers, we'll talk about it next. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. in on the text line. Bama Springer, good to hear from you. It's been a while. Bama Springer says, Cole, Diesel, you fishing brothers can talk fishing anytime. Love the show. Bama Springer, you know what? You're my new favorite Tolo for the day. That means turn it on, leave it on. A lot of new faces, a lot of new people listening to Wire. It's still a new show in the upstate. Obviously, it used to be called P1 listeners. Turn it on, leave it on is our motto. That's what we want you to do on this very radio station from Rob Brown in the morning all the way through wire to wire.
Can we call him the Tolo King for the day?
Who's that? Bama Springer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, until somebody takes his crown.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I've said many times that I like the strong text message. I like the big, bold text messages that our audience sends in. I like the strong calls. Personally, not to offend anybody, but you know, there hasn't been anybody take that belt away lately. I mean, like Brad's a good call usually, Bobby and Gaffney. You know, we have a lot of good callers, but somebody's got to take that crown and wear it. There's a lot of parity right now in terms of our audience, Diesel. Nobody's stepping up and just take. Dewey tries, but I hate to upset you, Dewey. You're not taking that crown anytime. You got to be more bold. You got to have a little bit stronger of an opinion that makes sense. I need somebody to step up and take this crown.
Yeah, Cole, there's a mode in Call of Duty. I don't know how much you play that video game. There's a mode there. I forget what it's called, but you wear a crown, and everybody's coming after you. Everybody. So you got 5 other players in that room, all trying to take your crown, and that's what I want these Tolos to be thinking about, right?
Yeah,
like,
man.
If somebody calls in and thinks and has a pretty good phone call, I want you thinking of a better phone call. You can call in and take that crown away for the day.
You know what? Sometimes we do have Tolos call in and text in and take the crown. Lately, though, it's been a little slack. I mean, we send a lot of generic text messages. Our text line and our stream line over the past month or so has been fantastic. You guys are chiming in and chiming away like you're supposed to. But in terms of taking that crown, listen, there's a lot of parity right now. I don't like the parity on this front.
I don't know anywhere, Cole, though, that's going to take the crown away from where we are today. We are at Thornblade Country Club. It's just off Pelham Road in Greenville. And, man, I didn't even know this place was tucked back in here. We rolled in.
You got to start playing here.
Yeah. Do you know somebody who can get me in here? Maybe Dabo Sweeney can get us in here. I don't know. Just a beautiful, absolutely beautiful golf course to drive in, man. Beautiful, multi-million-dollar homes. We got this gorgeous golf course tucked back in here, man. And we're looking off the balcony here. We're seeing the 9th green. It's a par 3, 9th here. We have a huge pond over here. That, again, you and I, we could set these headsets down, let Brandon host the rest of the show, and go fishing for the next couple of hours, but they won't let us because they'll stop paying us.
Or how long we could go down there and start fishing. Like, that was always my experience in college, sneaking on the golf course ponds. Like, I can get there, but how long does it last, right?
Yeah, you might get 3 or 4 casts before you get thrown out.
I want to hear you. I mean, I see Joey Tolo. Joey says, look here, next time y'all talk college football, I'll gladly take that crown, Joey. Step it up, man. Bama Springer.
Talk it anytime you want to, as long as it's on topic.
Hey, and if you want to talk college football and we're just shooting the, you know what, call in and let's talk college football. I'm not opposed to letting you host a segment. Bama Springer does a great job. Creed and Cowpens. I love Creed's calls. JD, Wyatt. Those guys are always searching for the crown, but I like the competition, Joey. Step your game up. I want to hear from you, man. Texter from the 483 Diesel says, as someone who listened to sports talk radio in Boston for 26 years, I can honestly say your show is amongst the best I've heard. Blows Boston sports talk radio out of the water. That is Scott in Simpsonville. Scott, I have some news for you. Bama Springer, you're not going to like me. But Bama Springer, you didn't wear that crown for long, buddy. That was a short tenure of wearing the crown.
See, this is what we needed, Cole. They just walked away. We had a group standing over your left shoulder there for a little while. They are from Boston, and they said, hey, we're from Boston. We're down here for the tournament.
Really?
We could have asked them to corroborate the texter's story.
Those guys?
Yeah, they're the ones that were standing right over here. Yeah, a group from Boston.
That's cool, man.
And they said, hey, what are you guys doing over here? You doing a live radio show? Yeah.
No.
I said our tower. I said, yeah, right. I said our tower's right over there. We're doing a live radio show right now. She's like, oh, my God, that's amazing.
Everybody's waking up, I guess, from a nap. Shane Barrett's chiming in now on the stream. We're live Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
Shane, what's your take of the day? That's what we should do.
Well,
we need to train our
tell
Tolos.
Shane is taking a day that has no curse words.
Yeah. Shane, you're a text-only take, okay? No, I want you guys signing on and hitting us with a take. When you sign in, when you start commenting on the stream, when you start texting in, don't say what's up, guys. We're not going to read what's up, guys, on the show any days of the week. We need you coming in hot with a take, with something real, something we can sink our teeth into.
Well, evidently, Diesel, I have awoken a hornet's nest. Listen, a texter, 262. The leprechaun is coming out of hibernation soon. That crown will be mine. Says, I'm assuming the Lyman leprechaun.
The leprechaun of Lyman.
So he says, look, come football season, that crown. I do think that right now,
who to you too.
We're in a slow season. I get it. And a lot of people, Diesel, listen to sports talk radio year-round, but more people listen during football season.
Yeah.
In the South, this is the football central, right?
Cole, there can be a slow season, and I'm fine with that, but there's no such thing as an off season, okay? The switch is always on. You got takes midsummer talking about Clemson football, South Carolina football, whatever it is. We want to hear it because I know that you guys don't stop thinking about this stuff. We don't stop thinking about this stuff.
Scott in Simpsonville says, seriously, if you've ever heard Michael Felger from the Sports Hub in Boston, you'll want to throw yourself off of a bridge. Wow. Scott coming in hot.
Well, if he threw himself off of a press box and it wasn't high enough, it wouldn't kill him when he hits the ground. That was from that remember that that call we had the other day? The play-by-play guy was talking about women's high school soccer, said this is so boring, I want to take a header off the press box, but it's not high enough and it wouldn't kill me.
That was probably some of the best audio I've heard
Good stuff.
in a long, long time. It really was. So, texters, Tolos, come on, man. Come on. Let's keep this up. I like your competitive nature. We don't want just one person wearing that crown and holding that crown. Texter says, guys, I'm jealous that you're at such a pretty course. Happy Friday. We made it. Incredible response here in this last segment. I guess everybody just all of a sudden turned the radio on at one time. Scott says on the stream, nobody is taking the crown from me. Challenge me, Boston people. So Scott, listen.
Lays it on the table.
He did. And Scott saying, ain't nobody taking the crown from me. He's Tolo Scott. Scott, that stands for turn it on, leave it on. I hadn't heard you on this show. So if you're a new listener, we appreciate you listening. We've had a lot of new listeners since this show has debuted. I like it a lot. So keep it up. Let's roll, baby. Let's go. Diesel, have you come around anymore to Dan Hurley being potentially the Los Angeles Lakers coach? We do know that today Dan Hurley and the Lakers are meeting, so I'm sure that is ownership and Dan Hurley talking about numbers, I would assume, financials. I think that – I don't want to say it's a pretty much done deal, but it does seem like there's a lot of legs to this. I think it's probably salary talks right now. Have you come around to it?
Look, I mean, do I think he's a great coach who would do very well for himself in the NBA? Yes, but as somebody who is and will always be college sports first, I feel bad for college basketball losing somebody like him. We have audio here, cut number 3, Cole. This is audio from Adrian Wojnarowski on whether Dan Hurley can adapt his college style to the NBA and what the Lakers see specifically in him.
I talked to an NBA coach tonight who made the jump from college to the NBA, and he said one of the really important things to remember, especially over 82 games, is that when a player makes a mistake, when he does something wrong, that you have to understand he's trying to do it right. He's trying to win. And sometimes you do have to correct him. Sometimes you have to show him. But often over an 82-game season, you better support him. You can't come down on him every time. That's what you have to learn in that job. Dan Hurley does understand to make this transition, he's going to have to adapt. I don't think it would happen overnight. I think it's going to be a process for any coach. But I think the college coaches who go to the NBA and have success, Billy Donovan, Quinn Snyder, Brad Stevens here in Boston, I think the couple of common denominators with them, one, they know the players are the stars. And number two, they've been a part of organizations that see the coach and the front office together in a program. That's what Rob Pelinka is trying to do in LA. That's why he wants Dan Hurley. He wants to have a program with these Lakers, not just team after team.
I love that audio.
So he's either talking about Quinn Snyder or Billy Donovan, because I doubt he's getting text messages from Brad Stevens right now about Dan Hurley.
So I'll say this. I heard a take, and I've had a lot of issues with Colin Cowherd and some of his takes, lazy takes. I heard a take from Colin Cowherd comparing Dan Hurley to the former Celtics coach that you just said. I don't know why his name just slipped out of my mind, but I do, Brad Stevens. I do not think that's a valid comparison. I think Dan Hurley, man, a guy in his 50s, I know that a lot of people say, well, just because you win in college don't mean you can win in the pros. I think that is a misinterpretation because of such a small sample size. It just doesn't happen a lot. I think that Dan Hurley is more than capable. Now, I think the biggest hurdle that Dan Hurley would have if he did go to the LA Lakers, Diesel, is understanding people, humans, in a different way. Like, he's dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-olds, right? Now he would be dealing with 35, 40-year-olds, and obviously still some young guys coming out of college. But LeBron James and Anthony Davis and people in that age, like your age people and 17-year-old age people, yeah, I mean, didn't mean to make you feel old there, but you set me up for it. Those people just aren't the same. The generations are different. You have to be able to relate differently.
Yeah, and he changes who he is as a coach, and he changes drastically the relationship that he has with his players. Right now with UConn, he is the best means to an end, which is getting to the NBA for a lot of college basketball players. Him and maybe 5 or 6 other guys, that's who these high school kids look at and say, that's who will help me on to the next level, which is the NBA. Once you get to the NBA, Cole, you're there. You've arrived. I mean, there's nowhere to go from there. There's nowhere. There is no up from there. That is the tippy top, right? I mean, maybe playing on a dream team, playing in the Olympics or something like that, maybe, but that's not a career aspiration for a lot of these guys. So the relationship Dan Hurley has is going to change as he moves into the NBA, and it's just a question of, can he adapt to that new role, which is to manage them, to support them, and to get out of their way.
Texter says, why would he, talking about Dan Hurley, leave a chance for a three-peat for maybe a 37-win season? Well, I'll say this. I said this yesterday, Texter. You win back-to-back national championships at the collegiate level. I've never done it, obviously. I don't know what it feels like. I will never reach that pinnacle of success. But, Diesel, I would imagine that when you win back-to-back at the college level, you do sit back and reflect, and you probably do think, what more is there to be done? What else can I do?
More?
Yeah, but like
getting more than 2. Chasing K, who has 5. He's 3 away from Coach K, and he could coach for another 15, 20 years if he wanted to.
He could probably get there, I would assume. But, like, I'm just saying that I hear you. Yeah, 2 versus 5 rings, I'm with you. But same thing with Dabo Swinney, man. Like, I know people don't want to admit it, Diesel, but when you win at the highest level in any sport, your outlook, your attitude, something does change. I'm not saying you don't have that same hunger or that same desire. I'm just saying that it's part of human nature that a little bit of complacency does kick in. And I'm not saying Dan Hurley's complacent by any means. I just do think that once you win back-to-back at the college level, the thought process, the thought does cross your mind of, I've done all I can do. What's next?
Yeah,
what
you can start looking at it as what's next. Texter says, Quinn Snyder isn't leaving Atlanta. Sorry to break your hearts, fellas. Yeah, Texter, we're not talking about Quinn Snyder leaving Atlanta. Quinn Snyder was mentioned as one of the handful of coaches who had come from the college ranks, who it's likely that Adrian Wojnarowski was talking to.
Sure.
He said, I was talking to a coach who was a former college coach who's now coaching in the NBA, and there's only 3. It's Quinn Snyder, it's Billy Donovan, and it's Brad Stevens in Boston. And he's in the NBA Finals. So I doubt that Adrian Wojnarowski is talking to him right now what he thinks about Dan Hurley. I highly doubt that's who he is. So Listening is fundamental.
I love Dan Hurley. I think him as a college coach, I think he is as complete of a package as you can get. He's one of the best there is. I think he's the absolute best right now in today's game. And, I know that for the college game, like Dan Hurley leaving would hurt, but I'm fascinated, Diesel, to see what Dan Hurley could do. So I'd like to see it. I'd like to see him come in to an LA Lakers team that has struggled in the last few years since winning it all in 2020 in the bubble. I'd like to see if he can be something that LA hasn't had, and that is stability. They desperately need stability. That's what made the teams back in the day so good with Boston and LA. They hadn't had that stability in a long time.
I hate to tell you, Cole, but there's not a whole lot of stability to be had with being the head coach of the LA Lakers because LeBron is old as dirt. Everybody on that team is old. They're all going to be retiring within the next couple of years. So he's going to be dealing with a complete roster changeover in the next couple of years. That's the question. Does he want to walk into that scenario? Does he want to essentially be bossed around by LeBron for the next 1, 2, possibly 3 years tops and maybe not win because, well, his strategizing and his running of the team is always going to take a backseat to what LeBron wants?
Well, if that's a real narrative, I don't think it's going to last for long because LeBron is on the very back end. And Dan Hurley, listen.
The back nine, so to speak.
The back nine, yes, as we are at Thornblade here in Greenville. LA, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying about Anthony Davis and LeBron getting old. But the way I look at it is Los Angeles will always be a destination city. So I think that's very interesting. And I know we got to get to Shane Connick here shortly. Yeah, but it's a great conversation.
From one Shane to another, Shane Barrett. See, this is what we're talking about, guys. He's coming in hot, says Shane's taking the day. Celtics had to win that game like that for me to believe they haven't just coasted through this easy playoff run. Also, Mavs will not shoot that poorly.
I like that take. I agree with Shane.
There you go, Shane. That's what we're asking for.
I like it.
That's what we want out of you. Hey, coming up on the other side, Cole, let's talk a little bit of NASCAR. It's this weekend. They're headed to Sonoma. They're going to have to turn both left and right this weekend. Can they figure it out? Shane Connick of the Charlotte Observer.
Remember
next.
Live Read.
Sound off now at 844-FAN-PHONE.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
We are on the good side of the conditions here, Cole. Temperatures starting to come back down. We're on the shady patio looking over the 9th hole here at Thornblade Golf Club here today for the BMW Charity Pro-Am. But we go now to the phone lines and bring in Shane Connick of the Charlotte Observer, who covers NASCAR. Shane, hope you've had a fantastic week. They're at Sonoma, a road course. These guys are going to have to turn left, my friend, left and right, excuse me. How do you think they're going to fare this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a different kind of race than what we've seen. Anytime you go to a road course means you could have any winner a lot of times, and Sonoma no different. This is going to be a great race this weekend in a time where we continue to see unprecedented winners this year.
Shane, what were your initial thoughts on the Enjoy Illinois 300, which is a fantastic name in my opinion? Austin Cindric gets it done. A really good finish last weekend. It seems like we've had some really good finishes this season.
We sure have it. They are enjoying Illinois from 4 miles outside of St. Louis. I mean, you have that race, though. Christopher Bell clearly had the fastest car throughout the race, and really at many points looked like he was on his way to his second straight checkered flag. And then when Ryan Blaney gets past him, he had the problem with his engine, and then Blaney ends up losing fuel right after as he takes the white flag. It had looked for sure that at that point Bell had the fastest car, but Blaney's going to get the win. And then it's just a different Team Penske driver who is in victory lane. We've had some interesting, maybe unexpected would be the right word, winners this year. But Austin Cindric in victory lane before Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney, the reigning series champion and the series champion the year before that, that might be the most unprecedented one yet.
Shane Connick writes about NASCAR, covers NASCAR for the Charlotte Observer, joining us here on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate. Shane, I don't think we've had a chance to ask you this question yet. In your short time covering NASCAR for the Charlotte Observer, so far, what's the coolest I never thought I'd be doing this moment that you've had?
There have been a lot of them. That's a great question. But I would say that the one that really came was just this year experiencing the Daytona 500 for the first time. Last year, I started off with Darlington. And seeing a track that big and all the history and everything that goes with Darlington was incredible. And then the next track I went to was Talladega. And a few weeks later, I'm at the championship race in Phoenix. So everything just keeps getting bigger. And then this year, after I understand the sport, I understand how everything works from actually experiencing it, not just reading about it. But then to be down in Daytona and have 100,000 people at a sporting event to kick off the season, it's just, there is just nothing like the Daytona 500, and really nothing like, there are so many unique aspects of each week that makes NASCAR such a unique sports experience.
Shane, I thought you were going to say being on Wire to Wire was your most surreal experience yet. But, I mean, that's a good answer. Daytona, yeah, that's a good answer. I hear you, right? Hey, Shane, listen.
When we talk about Daytona on Wire to Wire.
Good answer. Good answer, my friend. This Sonoma Raceway, this racetrack, has been kind to Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr., Shane, he really, I'd even say desperately needs one. You like the history there with Martin?
I do, but also Martin is really just keeps getting worse for him this year. It's kind of funny. Denny Hamlin had the whole bracket challenge thing that he launched this past weekend. So everybody's watching different matchups, and a lot of people I saw ended up having Truex reach their championship rounds and all that. And then last week, everybody watching Truex, and he still ends up wrecking out. So there is no time that Truex needs it more than now. And coming at a road course like this, maybe that's what Martin needs. He can't win on an oval this year. He needs to go to a road course like Sonoma and get to victory lane.
You know, you got Kyle Busch and Joey Logano sitting right there on the bubble to make the playoff, right around that 15, 16, 17 mark. Given what's left of this season, which one of those two guys, and if it's not one of those two guys, go off script. Tell me who really needs a win here this weekend the most.
Of those two guys, I'm going with Joey Logano because he for a year where he doesn't have a win, he's a top driver, he's a multiple-time champion. Joey Logano he's won the pole at Daytona. He's been qualifying well. He's been running well. And for a driver like that to not have a win and not have as many points that makes him a surefire lock for the playoffs at this point in the season, I do think that he is one of those Team Penske guys, and specifically Joey Logano, who really does need a win. At this point, Kyle Busch, we get what he's at this point, and on a road course, it's going to be tough throughout this different tracks, and every time Busch, he's making headlines usually because he's punching someone post-race at this point. Joey Logano, though, still very much in contention, a two-time champion, a recent champion, and still kind of mind-boggling that not only has he not been in victory lane, but he's, like you said, all the way down to 16th in the point.
Yeah, well, you said punching people. I think it's more getting punched. Did he even land? Did he land anything?
On his dad. He got Ricky's dad.
On his, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Shane, listen, something I find very fascinating with Denny Hamlin. You brought up the bracket challenge, and you must have read my mind because I was going to bring that up, Shane. But you know what I find really fascinating is that Denny Hamlin, the most hated driver in NASCAR, I could argue is the driver that does more for the sport and getting eyeballs on the sport than anybody else.
I think that's very true. And I think that that's something that has been part of the initial reason for the hate. But overall, it's just interesting because, like you said, just about everybody in NASCAR now is looking to Denny Hamlin. He talks, people listen, no matter what he does. And so to hear him get through the way he does and know how many people actually do hate him, but then you see the impact that he's had on this sport, not only with things like the bracket challenge and on social media and nationally, but then within the sport and the role that he's played at 23XI and how Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, not just them developing, but how that team is really innovating the entire sport in a lot of ways. And so to see the impact that Denny Hamlin is having, it's really cool as somebody when you come into the sport to see somebody who is into other sports the way that he is and is trying to see what NASCAR can do to continue gaining more fans. It's really cool to see kind of how Denny's done that. And then interesting to see how, he gets booed more than anybody else every single week.
Shane Connick, Charlotte Observer, joining us here to talk NASCAR each and every Friday, as he always does. A lot of people love these road courses, Shane, because it gets a lot of these guys out of their comfort zone. Growing up, though, when I watched a little bit of NASCAR and I watched a little bit of Indy, I always thought the NASCAR cars of the 90s were slow and tight, comparing that to the nimble Indy cars that are still as nimble as they've ever been. What's changed about these cars and the technology since I was watching the sport, even 20 years ago, to make these cars better on road courses?
Yeah, and it's always is interesting to see when you go to a road course, because as much as you know about the car from ovals and super speedways and every single race in the middle of the year, these road courses just seem like after every race we're talking about, we got to repave, we got to do this differently. And so this next gen car, the 7th generation car as they call it, it allows for a lot of what some people think is great racing, but it could be very hard to pass sometimes, and sometimes it becomes easier for certain cars to pass. And so I think that now you're starting to see that these cars put everybody on a similar playing field. And when you're at a road course, it just is going to inevitably be harder for certain drivers to pass. So what we saw last year at the Charlotte Roval, when they lay out a road course on top of the oval at Charlotte Motor Speedway during the playoffs, was that A.J. Allmendinger, Xfinity Series guy, races in some cup races, ran to the checkered flag last year at that Roval for the reason that basically people wrecked and whatever, and he just got off to the lead and just led a lot of laps at the end and won. And so we could see something like that, because with these cars on these road courses, anything can happen, because anything can happen no matter where they go.
Shane, what I think is fascinating, sorry I had my volume turned down, first day on the job. Hey, Shane, what I think is fascinating is the point that Diesel brings up, and I hear you talk about the road courses. Does NASCAR, do they evaluate the road courses year to year to either decide whether to add more or take away some? Because I think it does add a little bit of added flavor for a casual fan to watch a different style than just something, a circle oval every single week.
Yeah, and every year it seems like they try to reassess everywhere they go. And if they go have 2 races at Richmond, they decide, do we really need to go back to Richmond twice? Well, there's a lot of talk now that why are we going to Phoenix twice? Why are we going to certain places twice? So every year there's that kind of reassessment of what should be on the schedule and how the cars race at each track. But right now, you're starting to see with some of them trying to repave certain tracks they've always gone to, trying to go to different tracks. And so something about this particular weekend at Sonoma, believe that they have repaved it from the last time that they raced out there. And so that's always going to add something new. Anytime there's just anything new to any track, like you said, instead of seeing them all racing around in the same oval, making left-hand turns, to see them on a road course is better. And so it's just something different. But at the same time, NASCAR is always being mindful that you don't end up having a race like just it's not a great race because you tried to do something different.
Well, Shane, you were talking there about the technology and how it's changed to essentially make everybody's car as equal as they possibly can. I mean, it's taking people back to the old IROC days. But who are the road course specialists? You know, if all these cars are equal, it's going to come down to the drivers. Who are the road course specialists? You know, I'm thinking like back in the day, there was Boris Said, guys like them who are just exceptional at racing road courses, whose names you may not call very often as running in the top 10, 15 or so of a race, who very well could stand a chance to place really highly this weekend.
Justin Haley, road course legend. Drives for Rick Ware Racing, drives the 51 currently. He has been running well this year, not at road courses, seeing him make it into the top 10 at different points throughout races. But I think that with how he's been running this year, not at road courses, and now that we're going to Sonoma, he would be my road course guy to kind of look out for of any of them this week.
Shane, I like that answer. That's a good answer. You always bring some good answers right here on Wire to Wire. Shane, we are live at the Thornblade Club in Greenville for the BMW Charity Pro-Am. Yesterday we had Bumgarner. What was his first name? Brian Bumgarner from The Office.
Yeah.
Yep. We had Ben Reichter, also Bryce Butler. Today we might talk to Seth Curry, a couple other guys. Who, if Shane Connick could pick the one celebrity to interview, not racing, non-racing celebrity, who would it be?
David Wright.
David Wright.
David Wright. He was the first athlete who, growing up in New Jersey and hating the Yankees before I knew what hating a team was.
Yeah.
He was the guy.
You're a baseball guy. I should have known that.
I am.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep on about David. Tell us, because I know he played for the Mets, but other than that, I'm not really familiar with him.
Just being the captain, the larger-than-life kind of, he's such a great player on the field, the guy everyone kind of looks up to. He was just that first one, and it's just that since then, there are so many different athletes in different sports, different teams who I love certain things about them. I hate certain things about them. And there was just something about David Wright, and just I was seeing him today in London with the Mets and Phillies before they play out there tonight. Just seeing an athlete who it wasn't on social media, wasn't really anything, but just everybody had his jersey. Everybody looked up to him. And I think that that's the kind of impact that so many people have had throughout NASCAR, because people just look up to one person, you see them compete, you maybe hear them a little bit, and everybody just has that respect for them.
Well, Shane, since you're a baseball guy, I know you'll love to hear that David Wells is out here on the course with us today. He is at this BMW Charity Pro-Am every year. I just question, getting back to NASCAR here, what it would take for your bosses to send you out to Sonoma. They're not, right? Are you going to Sonoma, or are you going to be here covering it from the East Coast?
No, I am here in Charlotte.
Oh,
we
man.
have the Premier Lacrosse League
Ooh.
coming to Charlotte this weekend.
Premier Lacrosse. Now, is that like nationwide or worldwide? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Nationwide. It's basically a few years ago it launched, small thing, merged with the Major League Lacrosse, and is now going to be in cities starting next season, still touring for the 6th straight year this year to different cities each weekend. It's been growing the game, innovating the sport, and we've got it here in Charlotte this weekend.
You're a true Swiss Army knife, Shane. You know what? I mean, you really are the definition. You're the man. Hey, always appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you next week, man.
Looking forward to talking with you guys next week. Always love to do it, guys.
That is Shane Connick of the Charlotte Observer. He's the best. You can follow him on Twitter at Shane_Connick. He is, as Diesel said, with the Charlotte Observer and joins us every single Friday at 4:20. Diesel, I told Shane before we had him on today, I called him and I said, look, we're having you on, but be prepared. It could be like middle of the interview. We got to go. We got David Wells right here. So
yeah, if you're a NASCAR fan, if you're getting into NASCAR, you need to make Shane Connick one of your main go-to companion pieces
for sure
for this sport. I mean, you heard him. You listened to him talk about this sport with so much joy and so much passion, and he's still got that sort of childlike wonder at what he's seeing everywhere he goes. This is a new, special, exciting thing.
He's
definitely one that you need to be following and help him grow his career as well.
All right, Diesel. We had a conversation with some guys standing to our right just a few minutes ago. There was a little heated debate going on. We'll continue the conversation. Monty Lee update, Landon Powell. Who is it? Is there an update on South Carolina's coaching search? We'll find out next.
7. Keyword fan. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan.
So we had a few of our listeners who were hanging out with us here at Thornblade about 30 minutes ago, and one of them played at South Carolina, played baseball, and there were 3 guys total. We were having a good conversation about Monty Lee potentially being the next coach, or was it going to be Pollard or Godwin or Landon Powell, whoever it may be. But, Diesel, as you talk to more and more people, more and more South Carolina fans, for whatever reason, I think that the general consensus does not want Monty Lee.
Really?
I've seen a lot of...
Really?
Now, listen, there are some that are okay with it.
The problem is, Cole, when a lot of people say we don't want Monty Lee, they can't really give you a reason. They can't quite put their finger on why.
It's the Clemson.
Why it is that it's not Monty Lee. But the question, when I put up that poll, Cole, only 15% said to be angry if it was Monty Lee. A vast majority said that they would be stoked if it was Monty Lee. He had a great win percentage at Clemson. I know that he didn't get them over the hump and into the supers. But, situations change, circumstances change, and with a change of scenery and with, of course, the increased resources that they have at South Carolina, I think would be a fantastic coach. Clearly, he can recruit like a son of a gun because he is blowing it up right now with great recruits.
3 this week.
Well, we have some breaking news here. Spur Daddy says the new baseball coach at South Carolina is me, as in him, Spur Daddy.
That's good.
Spur Daddy is the new coach at South Carolina. We can stop talking about all this.
So I did reach out to a couple of contacts in Columbia yesterday, and when it comes to Monty Lee, the one thing that I was told by people in the know was, yes, Monty has a chance, but it would have to get past some other options. So, as we've said,
That's kind of what we've already heard, right?
Yeah, and we've said it, right? Pollard would have to say no. I don't think Godwin's interested. I could be wrong there. I know Godwin really wants the Ole Miss job. But I think that if Monty were to get it, like we've already talked about, I think he would probably be the 4th call to make, maybe the 3rd. Maybe he would be Ray Tanner's 3rd, but I don't know if he would be the 3rd. I think he would probably be the 4th. I think that the Tennessee assistant coach would be the 3rd, in my opinion. So Monty would probably be the 4th. And if they do get to the 4th and Monty's there, guess what? You've got your guy. I just don't know that he's going to be very well liked, as Chris Phillips said on Twitter yesterday. If he does get named the coach, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback.
Yeah, Mike Bianco there, the head coach at Ole Miss, it's going to have to come through retirement. He has been there for an awfully long time at Ole Miss. Took the job in 2001, still here in 2024. 23 years on the job in Oxford. He would have to retire to move out of the way to let that happen.
For sure, and I think it'd be very interesting. The reality of it is, in Oxford, Diesel, he won a national championship 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
Before he won that, he was already on the way out. I mean, he really was. He was on the way out.
That's shocking, though, because I look back at his resume, and he has supers and regionals and regional College World Series.
The SEC's different,
He made
man.
Omaha. He makes a lot of regionals. I'm with you there. So, I mean, clearly that is the litmus test there if you're an SEC-level coach. If you can make the regionals, you're almost expected at this point. You're almost required to make regionals. But if you want to keep your job, you better be making minimum supers and getting yourself to Omaha every couple of years.
So I do think that if Monty is named the guy, I do think that there will be a lot of recruits and a lot of guys on the team because they know Monty who will be excited about it. The reality of it is, Diesel, when you look at the region that we're in, regionally, of course there are going to be a lot of recruits and people who are already in the game that are excited about it because Monty's here. He's in the game. He was at Charleston. He was at Clemson. He's been at South Carolina, and he has a chance to go back to South Carolina. I think that I won't say a lot, but I think that some of the high praise of Monty from the players in the game and recruits has to do with because they've been recruited by him. They know him. He's a likable guy, and he's from here. They don't know Pollard as well, right? It does matter.
Sure, and I'm scrolling down. I just searched Monty Lee on Twitter to see what would pop up, and As you said, the reviews on Monty are mixed. I mean, Gamecock Noah says, if we're hiring from within, I vote Ray Tanner over Monty Lee. Sorry, Ray Tanner is not going to go back to the dugout.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, Robbie Bowles. Monty Lee is my number one pick for head coach. Robbie Bowles, hope Monty Lee will be the head coach. Christian, hiring Monty Lee is laughable. Fired just 2 years ago from the school in the upstate for missing back-to-back regionals. It's crazy how many prefer him over Pollard. Sir Cockington tweets, I'm down to hire Monty Lee. If the players want him, that's really all that matters. So the reviews are kind of all over the place.
They are. They are definitely mixed reviews, and that's what I'm saying. If he does get the job, there are going to be a lot of mixed reviews. Mm-hmm. I think there are going to be more disappointed South Carolina Gamecock fans than there will be excited fans. Yeah. But it will be a mixed bag.
Well, if Ray Tanner's trying to buy his next head coach time, which you clearly don't have a lot of coaching in the SEC, Cole, with Monty Lee, that leash is going to be very short. If that's who the hire is, he's going to get 2 years minimum, maximum before Gamecock fans are going to want this guy out of here if he's not getting you back to the Supers. I mean, you could look at somebody like Pollard and say, okay, well, it's going to take you 2 or 3 years to figure out the SEC, right? So he would be given a little bit more time. But Monty Lee, I'm not sure, even though he is a favorite son of South Carolina, I'm not sure that he would be given that long leash.
Here's a fun game real quick before we hit a break. I want you and I to name the coach that South Carolina could hire that would not cause division within the fan base. Who's the guy they could hire?
Are we going to say it on 3?
I think there's 2. Diesel. I think it's Pollard and the assistant from Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think there would be a lot of people that would be excited. Were you going to say Pollard as well?
No, I was going to say Kevin O'Sullivan.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, but I look at the assistant from Tennessee and I ask this question:
Erlander, I believe.
How is it that being an assistant at an SEC school, not a head coach, how is that weighted above being an elite Division II head coach?
They would say, South Carolina fans will say, well, he has SEC experience. He's been in the SEC. I don't buy it. I think that
Landon played in the SEC. He's been in the SEC too.
And played in the MLB for crying out loud. That's a great point. But South Carolina fans would find a way to say, well, at least he's coached in the SEC, right? At least he's been there. It's a load of bull, but that's the way South Carolina fans are. I do think if Josh Elander, the hitting coach at Tennessee, I think if he got the job, it would be like 80% positive coming from Gamecock fans.
I do wonder if in any way, shape, or form Monty Lee would be open to staying on as an assistant coach under Landon Powell. If that was the combo, we've talked about it a little bit yesterday as if the combo was
the other
Monty
way around.
Lee head coach, Landon Powell assistant. What if it was flipped? What if it was the other way? I mean, you'd have a phenomenal coaching staff.
You would. I don't think
clearly knows how to win.
I don't think he'd stay.
Okay.
I really don't think he would. Texter says, while I think Powell would be the best option, I don't see him leaving NGU. Another texter, this is Tolo Phil. Tolo Phil says, I think it's Clemson people not wanting Monty Lee because they know he will do good. Some good points. Do you want to bring the guest on now, Diesel, and try to fit him in, or do you want to wait till the top?
No, let's go ahead and go straight off to break.
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and get straight to break. When we come back, we'll have a guest here from Thornblade.
Let's do it, man.
On the Fan Upstate.
From the fields to the courts, and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Well, the skies have cleared up. Just an absolutely gorgeous day here. We have a Greer address, but we're just on the other side of Pelham Road here in Greenville, South Carolina. Thornblade Country Club, an absolutely magnificent setup up here on the balcony overlooking the ninth hole, overlooking a beautiful pond, and we just have so many amazing things to say and memories that we're making today here at Thornblade for the BMW Charity Pro-Am. We're joined right now by one of the most special guests that we could bring on to the show. Not because he's a celebrity, not because you know his name, but because of what he does and who he represents. Jeff Morris, founder of the South Carolina chapter of Folds of Honor, a featured charity here at the BMW Charity Pro-Am, joins us here for a couple of minutes. Number one, thank you so much for taking the time today. We appreciate you. We appreciate your organization, everything it is that you do. I want to know, well, first of all, tell everybody who maybe doesn't know what Folds of Honor is. Tell them what it is you do.
Yeah. Hey, Diesel, thanks for having me on here this afternoon. And it is a gorgeous day here. Folds of Honor was founded in 2007 by Lieutenant Colonel Dan Hurley. And it's a great story. And if you ever get a chance, go to foldsofhonor.org to hear the story. It's a long story, so I won't share it today. But, it's really incredible. What we do is provide educational scholarships for the children and spouses that serve our country. What happens is if you have a gold star or if you're injured, a lot of the monies go to the veteran themselves, but the children and the spouses are left behind, and we provide those educational scholarships. We start at kindergarten, work our way through an MBA program. You can get a scholarship every year. It's all about education. We do that for both the first responders and our military that serve our communities and serve our country. And, it's important. Education is the foundation of anything, and we don't want anyone to be left behind. And so that's what we provide. Last year alone, we put 218 scholarships in the state of South Carolina for over $1 million. Wow. And nationwide, it was over 60 million.
That's incredible, Jeff. I hear you talk about this, and it's a cause that a lot of people are going to be behind once they hear about it. And I'm sure that with the chapter being new in South Carolina, that's one of your main challenges, maybe just trying to get the word out. Is that right?
Yeah, we're here today at Thornblade. One, to bring a recognition to Folds of Honor, educate those that serve us that there are scholarships available for their children. It's amazing how many people I spoke to today that still are not aware that they can get scholarships for their children that serve our country, and they can apply. If you've got any kind of VA rating and disability, you can apply for those scholarships annually. So it's about awareness. To your point, the chapter is fairly new. Still, a lot of people don't know about us. We do have a lot of great partnerships. Here locally, if you go to QT, you'll see a lot of times by the gas pump.
That's where I've seen them.
That's where you've probably seen us. Yeah, you'll see Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney on the QT, and you'll see that QR code
on the cups
there.
too, right?
On the cups, yep.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. So that's where we get a lot of brand recognition. But again, it's a great cause. 91 cents of every dollar goes back to the cause, which is important. I mean, you got to look at that factor, and that's what we really hang our hat on every day. But it's what we wake up. It's something I did not personally serve, but everyone in my family did, and this is my way of serving back to our community for those that have served us.
Jeff, you said it, $1 million just this year in scholarships in the state of South Carolina. For those in our audience who have military personnel in their families, so somebody who may have lost a father, may have lost a brother, may have lost a spouse, how does somebody who is in that situation get involved with Folds of Honor? You guys aren't out there searching for these people. They have to come and find you. How does somebody get started?
Yeah, so foldsofhonor.org. Go to the website, and our scholarship window opens up in February 1st, and it runs through April. You get on the site. You can apply for the scholarship. You can also go on there, and you'll find chapters. You just click on the state of South Carolina. You'll find all of our information about our chapter. You'll see a lot of our chapter and board members. It's a 100% volunteer organization here in the state of South Carolina.
I'm sure you have heard stories in the 3 to 4 years that you've opened in South Carolina, but is there a story that really jumps out or pops out to your memory that you could share to our audience that would really, help them get a grasp on how impactful this nonprofit is?
Yeah, so there's a young lady who's actually working with us today. Her father served, and he passed away about 3 years after he got out of the military. And if it wasn't for Folds of Honor, her and her brother would not have been able to go to college. And because of Folds, her and her brother were able to go to college, attend college, get assistance. Today, Sarah is actively involved with our chapter, and she's pregnant. She'll be due in a few months, so it's carrying it forward. She's very active in getting involved.
Wow!
And you just hear those stories and about what she's able to do, and she's now married and having a child. And she says the impact that Folds had on her life and the ability to go to the college of her choice was really meaningful. And there's stories like that all the time. Today, I met a gentleman who walked up to me and says, my daughter is on a Folds of Honor scholarship, and I wouldn't be able to afford to send her to the school that I would like to send it to her to, but
That's
because
incredible.
of Folds, we're able to make that happen, and I got goosebumps just talking about it right now.
I do too. That's awesome, man.
As a few minutes ago, as we were standing on waiting to bring you on, you were telling us about all the things that Folds involved with here at this tournament, what you've got going on tomorrow. You were saying that everybody's encouraged to wear red, white, and blue tomorrow, and there's going to be something special happening on one of these fairways, and people who live in this area, they may see it buzzing over their heads. Tell them what's up.
Yeah. So tomorrow's going to be an exciting day. So this year, South Carolina Charities has chosen Upstate Warrior Solutions and Folds of Honor as two of the selected charities. So we are excited for tomorrow. It's going to be military appreciation. I want you to wear your red, white, and blue out here tomorrow. But really cool, at 9:30 tomorrow morning, we're going to have a couple people parachute in carrying an American flag on the 18th fairway up towards the 18 green. And then soon after that, right after that, the national anthem is going to be going on, and a World War II plane is going to come buzzing down the 18th fairway about 9:30, 9:35, 9:40 tomorrow morning. Looks like it's going to be another beautiful morning. It's going to come as low as they can and zip by,
man,
and it's going to be pretty cool. And
I have goosebumps hearing you say that.
Well, you just think, June 6th was D-Day,
sure,
and this is one of those World War II planes that are going to come flying by here in tomorrow morning. So we're excited about that.
Now, if you're right here at the clubhouse, do you know if you'll have a good view of that plane in the morning?
My recommendation is get out towards that 18th green. 18th fairway. Yes.
Well, man, we appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Jeff Morris, founder of the South Carolina chapter of Folds of Honor, a great charity. Again, if you're affected by this, if you are a child of somebody who lost their life in service, go to their website, find them online. Again, if you go to a QT, look for it on the gas pump, look for it on the cups there, everywhere. You can see it. It's a simple logo to look for. It is a folded flag, a blue field with a couple of stars on top of it. That's what you're looking for. If you want to get involved, if you want to donate, there's so many ways for you to help out. We really appreciate
you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. Jeff Morris.
I said David. I don't know where I got David. David is our next guest, David Wells. Former baseball player. So I had David in my head. I apologize, Jeff.
There you go. Great guy to be in front of.
Appreciate you.
Thank
you so much. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
That's fantastic, man. Great interview. And again, foldsofhonor.org. I do have the website pulled up. You can read all about it there. As he said, the scholarship window will be opening soon. That's foldsofhonor.org.
There you go. Let's get into a segment that we do each and every day.
I want to pause that. We will have David Wells by telephone within the next 60 seconds.
Okay, let's hit a hold on that. Yeah, for sure.
So let's push the 5. Listen,
it's funny. We just mentioned David Wells' name a couple of minutes ago when we had Shane Connick on the phone. And here he is calling into our
radio. I was told
show.
that he is going to be calling in. This was, he should be calling in. So, Brandon, keep your eye on that. David Wells, man, that's a big-time guest, former baseball player. Man, he played, I want to say 20-something years. Let me fact-check myself there. As I'm going to guess 23 years old. I'm going to guess David Wells. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. But I'm going to guess he played for 23 years in the MLB. Los Angeles Dodger, man, he played for the Yankees. Obviously, he was known for his time in the Yankees. Drafted in 1982. 1987, Toronto. 1993, Detroit. Man, he played for a lot of MLB teams.
Cincinnati, Baltimore,
Gosh.
New York, Toronto again. Chicago, the Yankees, again, San Diego Padres, Boston Red Sox. I remember him from those Boston teams for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's good to call in now.
He's also played he played twice, 2 different stints with the San Diego Padres, and he finished his career in 2000 with the Los Angeles Dodgers, a 3-time All-Star in 95, 98, and 2000, a 2-time World Series champion, ALCS MVP in 98, AL wins leader in the year 2000. So this is a guy, Cole, that wasn't just great early in his career. This is a guy that stayed great a long time through his career.
Look at Roy Hummers from our promotions department. Roy, if you're going to put the headset on, man, you better turn that. No, come on. Turn the mic on. Put that mic down. Don't act like, what? Are we not allowed?
Turning knobs.
Is promotions not allowed to talk on air? Roy, look at Roy being bashful.
Roy's the most interesting man in America. What are you talking about?
I mean, I thought
Roy's
we were
got
going to
stories.
We talk about celebrity guests. I thought we were going to have Roy Hummers from the promotions department at Odyssey on, but he's shaking his head. That's just not a. That's not a team player.
Roy, I got to get me a pair of those.
Look at he won't even
tell.
He's not falling for it.
Yeah.
He's not falling for it.
The bait.
I love it. I see our in-studio producer, Brendan, right now on the phone, so we will have David Wells momentarily on Wire to Wire. As Diesel said, man, he has played for a lot of teams.
Through a perfect game.
That's pretty impressive.
Through a perfect game.
Pretty impressive.
1998.
Mr. Wells is on the phone.
All right, we do want to go to the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone as we are live in Greenville at the BMW Charity Pro-Am and bring in David Wells. He did play today, and that's what I want to start with, David. How'd you swing it today, big guy?
I am not swinging the club as good as I'd like to. It's been a little bit of a long road for me. Just get back into the game, and I think it's the first time I've ever played golf in my life because I feel bad for Dylan Myers because he's playing his butt off, and he's got to carry about 240 pounds on his shoulder.
Well, David, I ask you, if you're not hitting them well today, I want to take you back to a time when you were hitting it well. Everybody's got this shot in their mind, the one shot that they never thought they could pull off. Can you recall the greatest golf shot you've ever hit?
Yes, about 4 years ago, right here at Thornblade.
Wow.
So it's it was to win the tournament. Ozzie Smith, I believe, and I were in tied for first, and I got lucky and got a kick off the side of the hill, rolled across the green. The ball went in the hole, and hole in one. That's everyone's dream. And
wow,
unfortunately, that was my third one in about a month and a half or 2 months. So I don't know what the hell was going on, but I had the stink on me. That was pretty good.
David, you played in the MLB for quite some time. As you know, in South Carolina, we're in Braves country. What is your favorite Braves memory? And the second part of that question, what's your worst Braves memory?
Well, favorite was we beat the Braves in the World Series in '92 when I was with Toronto Blue Jays. So that was pretty cool, being able to play in your first World Series. We had such a good team. Joe Carter was amazing. Dave Winfield was even better. But, to me, it was, here's your number 4 hitter, power hitter, obviously. And I watched him as a kid growing up in San Diego. And he lays down a bunt to get the guys over. Next guy, I don't know if it was Ed Sprague or somebody, gets him in. And, he played small ball. It just because I remember playing with Joe Carter, and Joe Carter's a great hitter. I believe he should be a Hall of Famer, in my eyes. But I never seen a guy with bases loaded in my life, and that guy would not take a walk to save his life. And he had a lot of RBIs that year, but it was just crazy because he wouldn't sacrifice anything. He's going for it, and rightfully so. But it's just pretty crazy how you see those. Those two caliber of hitters, power hitters, and one's doing one way, one's doing it the other, and then Joe hits the home run against the Phillies the following year. But to beat the Braves, it was great because I watched the Braves as a kid growing up because they were always on TV. The Cubs were always on TV. But, and then pitching at Brave Stadium, years later with the Yankees in one of my best games. Despite the perfect game, that was probably one of the best games I've ever pitched. Against the Braves, and to me it was good teams like that bring out the best in me. So that's why I want to face the best hitters and make a name for yourself.
He brought it up. He's in a prestigious club, one of only 24 pitchers in Major League Baseball to have ever thrown a perfect game. David, I want to ask you, how well do you think you would adjust to the modern rules and the new things that the pitchers are having to deal with, the limitations on the number of times they can throw back over to first base, the pitch clock. How would that have affected your game?
Well, you know what? It's funny you say that because Sparky Anderson, the great Sparky Anderson, I remember pitching, and I literally threw the ball over like 6 times in a row, and it was all coming from Sparky. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What's this guy doing? You know, he just wants to look at the situation, the offense, if they're going to, bunt him over. He just wanted to get the hitter, if he's flinching in any way, shape, or form. Plus he was a fast runner over at first. But, I don't watch baseball. To be honest, I haven't watched it in 5 years with all this analytics, all this crap going on. I've never had a problem with the clock because I wouldn't if these could always pitch fast. But certain guys don't pitch that way. Brad Penny, great pitcher himself, but he kind of took his time. He was, he was like in golf. You're going to call the clock on the guy because, he's so in between pitches. He takes a long time. But I look at it this way: if the fans don't want to stay there for 9 innings, you can leave whenever you want.
True.
It's no big deal. But the way they're changing these, putting a guy on second base in the extra inning, crap like this, this what's disgusts me about the game. So I don't really care for it anymore. It sucks.
David,
it's the greatest game ever.
My last question for you: your thoughts on how involved gambling has gotten into sports, especially in the MLB with the Shohei Ohtani scandal?
It's crazy. I would have never in a million years bet on baseball, regardless. Maybe getting in NFL or, like you pick brackets. That's about the extent that I got, when it came to sports, when you're in the off season or something like that. But to bet on your own sport, I mean, it's crazy. It's stupid, and especially if you get caught and the kind of the money these guys are making nowadays, it's like, why would you even take the chance of getting banned for life? I mean, look at Pete Rose, and he didn't do it as a player, I don't believe. He did it as a manager. But, to me, I still think he should be in the Hall of Fame regardless. They need to overturn that. But these guys are just stupid, the kind of money that, is thrown at them nowadays. It's like they got to get a clue.
David Wells, Major League Baseball pitcher, joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, pitched a perfect game. My last question for you, David, is the guy over here to my left has a chance to caddy on this very course tomorrow. He's never caddied before. He doesn't know anything about golf at all. What advice would you give him as a caddy for a guy who's never been on the bag?
Well, I'll tell you right now, stretch those legs as good as you can. Hydrate, eat a couple bananas so you don't cramp up, because there's some undulation out here. And, today I took a cart. I walked probably 90% of the course, but in between holes, I would jump on the back of the cart and just do that just to save my legs, because, I got a bad knee and going downhill is not fun for me. Going uphill is fine, but going downhill. So if you got any elements, stretch, hydrate, eat a banana or two or something like that, and make sure. And here's the kicker. Make sure that he doesn't put a couple big old boulders in the bottom of that bag. If it's real heavy, something's up.
David, great stuff, man. We appreciate you taking time to hop on with us, and best of luck in your next career, whatever that may be.
I hope it's golf. I'm a big hunter, but I hope it's golf, and I got to find my swing back again. So I'll get back. It's frustrating, but, golf is awesome.
Appreciate you, David. That is David Wells, former MLB player. Fascinating quote, and we're going to hit a break, but the most fascinating quote that I got from that interview was, I have not watched baseball in 5 years. How about that?
Hates the new changes.
That is fantastic, fascinating. Really, really is. All right, we will get to the 5 o'clock fight. If we can, we might have another guest. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. He's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. Well, we do think that we might get the 5 o'clock fight in. You know, it's like weather permitted, Diesel, with a baseball game or a football game. When you're doing these interviews, the 5 o'clock fight, it may happen. It may not. We may push it to 6 o'clock, but
hey,
it
we
looks
get the
like
pause
we can
button
do it.
on it for David Wells.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good answer there. But let's unpause it now, and let's tell you after the intro what the 5 o'clock fight exactly is.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
So here's what this is all about. We pick 3 different topics, and we disagree. We fight it out. We have to take opposite sides of the argument, and you, the Tolos, decide. You tell us by texting in at 71307. Start your text with keyword fan, or by commenting on any one of our web streams across Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. You tell us who wins each round of the fight. Here we go with round number 1. Cole, you put this one on the 5 o'clock fight. I don't have a clue what this is. You clearly put it on there in a way that I couldn't form a preconceived notion. What's happening?
So I bought a nice golf shirt to wear tomorrow if I potentially caddy for Charlie James.
Did you get it at Goodwill?
No, I did not. Goodwill was closed when I was shopping. But I bought a nice golf shirt. As we said yesterday, I may caddy tomorrow. I may not. Depends on if he makes the cut.
What's wrong with the one you're wearing right now?
Well, this is not a golf shirt. It is. It's not comfortable.
It's a collared shirt.
Number 1, it's not comfortable, and I'm sorry to the Fan Upstate for that. Sorry, Roy, but
it's not a wool. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's
everybody knows that's the most comfortable material.
Listen, it doesn't breathe. Okay, so I went and bought yesterday evening a very nice golf shirt, Diesel, and I was going to wear it tomorrow with Charlie. That way, you got to look good. You got to play the part, right? Just pretend like you know what you're doing. Well, the question is, round 1, if Charlie James doesn't make the cut, do I keep the shirt, cut my losses because it was a pretty expensive shirt, or do I return it and get my money back, Diesel?
First of all, let me ask, how much did it cost?
It was $75 or so.
$75 shirt. That's not a cheap shirt. Do you need the money? I mean, it'd be nice to get it back. I understand.
Absolutely. I mean, $75 is $75, right?
Yeah. Cole, do you need to be wearing a nice shirt when you kill a deer while you're out hunting?
No.
No. Do you need a nice shirt when you're out cruising for ladies?
Yes.
Yes. So there you go. Keep the shirt.
Really?
Keep the shirt. Trust me, you're going to find an occasion to wear it. Maybe it's an Odyssey company party, and you say, you know what, I want to look snazzy for this party. Can't let Roy Hummers always be the best dressed person in the room.
True.
I need to wear my nice shirt. So there you go. I think
little date night shirt or something. You just never know, right?
Sure.
Well, I say, you know what? It was a disappointment if Charlie James doesn't make the cut and I don't caddy. Guess what I'm doing? I think I will return the shirt.
Don't take the tags off.
The tags. Oh crap!
Did you already take them off?
I'm trying to think. Did I? I took. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
The real question is, Cole, would it be okay if you caddied in the shirt, then you had it professionally cleaned, and then you took it back
with the tags on?
Yeah. You just tuck the tags in, man.
Oh my god!
Just see, like that's not really even a thing anymore, is it? Right?
No,
they don't check. They don't check the tags when you return clothing to see if the tags are still on it. Would you ever do that? Are you the type of person who would never do that?
I'd never do that.
Never do it. You'd never wear it once and return it. Is that exclusively a female thing?
I don't know.
To like wear a dress to a party or something and then take it back the next day?
I don't know. Let us know, 71307, if Charlie James doesn't make the cut. If I don't caddy, do I keep the shirt or do I return the shirt?
I say you keep it, wear it. If it's a nice shirt, if it's as nice as you make it sound, because when it sounds like it's made out of solid gold, you're going to find an occasion to wear it in the future. Trust me. You're never too good to have a nice shirt.
No, I agree with that.
Ready to go. Okay, here we go with fight number 2. Vinyl in 2024. The records, not the sofa material. Yeah. Vinyl, is it a hipster trend or is it the best way to listen to music?
So you're asking me if I should listen to music on a record player?
Yeah, I'm asking you if it's worth it. Is it a hipster or is it cool?
It's stupid is what it is. Are you kidding me? Why would I go to the effort of buying a record and then no, absolutely not. There's no way. That is so. I had a neighbor in Dallas when I lived in Dallas that did that all the time, like 24/7. I think that is the weirdest thing in the world, Diesel. Heck no to that.
No, man, I am a music guy. It is the best way to listen to music. Number one, I just bought a record player, so that's the reason why I asked this question. I bought my favorite record of all time, and on the very first listen, Cole, I'm just setting this thing up, right? It's not even connected to the best speakers. I just connected it Bluetooth to my soundbar, and I'm hearing nuances in these songs that I've never noticed before or I've never paid attention to. See, music is meant to be an experience where you sit down and you really let it surround you. Now, like we've just put it in the background, right?
You say, "Hey, Alexa."
It's always easy to just pull out your phone, listen to part of the song, jump here, jump there, get this, get that. No, man, with vinyl, it is purposeful, it is deliberate, it is beautiful. It is the best way to listen to music.
Gosh, please, texters, Tolos, please don't agree with Diesel on this. Please help me on this one.
71307, start your text with keyword fan. Who wins that round? If you're on the fence, if you've got one tallied for Cole, one tallied for Diesel, we got one more that's going to break the tie. Let's hit it. Cole, if you've got the money to do either one of these, so money is not an issue, okay? Would you rather go to a college or an NFL game of your choice and sit in a suite or sit out amongst the people? I'll even extend it if the easy answer for you is like, I don't want to be behind glass. It's an open air suite. You can open the doors and experience all the outside.
Oh man, I hate to be this way. I hate to sound bougie, but if you're going to give me and tell me money's not a factor, absolutely, because there's free food, there's free food, there's free food, and there's free food. And guess what I love? Free food. So, yes. Are you kidding? How is this even a conversation? Give me the suite all day long, man.
No, man. I don't want to be up there with the people who don't really even know how to appreciate football, the ones who are like, oh, I'm just here because my company gave me free tickets to this game. No, man. I want to be out amongst the people. I would rather pay for my beers. I'd rather be out there fighting the masses, feeling the rumble of the crowd, smelling all the smells than be in some neutered luxury box. I understand it's free food, but no, man, I want the full
Who's neutered in the box, Diesel?
Well, some of the husbands, I'm sure. You tell us. That does it for round number 3 in the 5 o'clock fight. Round 1 was, should Cole return a shirt he bought to be a caddy if he doesn't get to caddy? I say no, keep it. Cole says he's going to take it back. Round 2, vinyl records. Is it a hipster trend that's dumb, or is it the absolute best way to listen to music? I say it's great. Cole says it's stupid. And round number 3, if you've got the money, I'm not putting you in a financial hole to make this decision. Just go and enjoy yourself. Would you rather sit in a suite or out amongst the people? Cole says give him the free food in the suite. I say put me out there with my people. That is today's 5 o'clock fight. This right now will tell you how you could suggest a 5 o'clock fight.
What do you want Diesel and Cole Bryson to fight about next?
If you've got an ass, I'll kick it.
Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line fight on the Fan Upstate.
Want to hear from you? You tell us who won each round of the fight. This right now, Cole, is when we start going through the message, the votes that are coming in live on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter stream and on the text line. What are you giggling about?
The first thing was I brought Roy over because Corn Chip said we want Roy. I want to hear Roy because Corn Chip got an email from Roy last year about some Ed Sheeran tickets. So Corn Chip wanted to hear Roy, but Roy didn't want to. I was laughing about a texter from the 448 says, I'm always on your side, Cole. Can't say the same thing about Diesel, Diesel. Who do you think that's from? Who do you think that's from? Come on. Is there people around here that are messing with us right here on the patio? All right, on the stream, you go to the stream, Diesel. I'm on the text line. Texter says, this comes from the 587. Cole, round 1, an unused shirt is just clutter. Round 2, Diesel's right. Records have the best sound. 3, Cole, free is free, says Trey.
Madcraft says, I own a record player and multiple records. Ooh, dust off your shoulder, Madcraft. It is most definitely not the best way to listen to music.
Plot
So
twist.
Madcraft says, Cole, round 3, and the win. Mad says, dude, with digital speakers now, how could you possibly still believe a scratchy record sounds better? Madcraft, it's not just about the sound. Yeah, the sound is great. But, man, when I start pulling the record out, and I start pulling out the booklet that comes with it, and I get this large format, beautiful artwork, it's just so much better than looking at something on your phone, like zooming in. No,
You're
no,
an
that
old
sucks,
soul.
man.
You're an old soul.
That sucks looking at album artwork. I hate it. I hate it. I just want to be able to sit back and let it all wash over me.
Texter from the 470 says, Diesel, amen, brother. Vinyls are the best. Did you pay him off too?
Who said that?
470, Texter.
Texters, do us a favor and put your name on your votes here on the 5 o'clock fight. We have a message in now from Spur Daddy who says Cole wins round 1, so he's a cheapskate too. He's going to take that shirt back. He says Diesel wins round 2 and Diesel wins round 3. Thank you, Spur Daddy.
Minecraft says it's music. It's 100% about the sound. Maybe you should go read a children's book.
Hey, if they put it on vinyl, I'll listen to it. How about that?
That's fantastic. Fantastic stuff. Every single day at 5 o'clock. Some days it gets pushed back.
Here's the best thing about you idiots who only have an online subscription. Spotify. As soon as you stop paying that bill, guess what? You lose it.
Yeah, but it's so cheap. Is it though? I think I pay $6 or $8
a month.
Yeah,
every month.
That's fantastic.
Forever.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Let's see. $8 a month. I'm going to do the math here. $8 a month.
Yeah, call it 8.
Times 12 months out of the year. Times, let's see, you're 27. You're probably going to live till you're at least 77. So let's multiply that by 50. You're going to end up spending almost $5,000 in your lifetime on your music collection. But if I buy it one time, that's it. I don't have to pay any more for it.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. What if you're driving down the road? Can you take that big freaking cassette with you? Not cassette, but vinyl.
No, but you're not really listening to it, are you? You're not really listening to it.
To the music?
To the music.
100%.
Yeah, you're texting, you're punching in on your GPS where you need to go.
Snapchat.
You're looking at you're Snapchatting. You're looking at, oh man, maybe I want a Starbucks. Maybe I should pull over there. No, you're not actually paying attention to it, man.
You know what I have found lately? I am a Spotify guy, and I have been for quite some time, but I found lately that I'm getting more and more lazy. Like, I like being able to say, hey, Alexa, play whatever. Like, I love that. You know, just, if you want to listen to little Johnny Cash, hey, Alexa, play Johnny Cash. I like it. I'm
saying there's a place for both in your life, man. You know, like, I'm not saying I only have a record player and I'm never listening to, digital streams of music, but you have both.
I just highly doubt I'll ever own a record player. I highly doubt it. I really do.
Wait, there's something about it when you turn 40 that says, you know what, I need to start smoking cigars and I need to get a record player.
Think so?
Yeah.
Midlife crisis, maybe?
Who knows?
You want a motorcycle, Diesel?
That's the reason. No, I absolutely don't.
I was just curious.
Death traps.
I was just curious.
You got one?
No, I just
right on the back.
You in your midlife crisis? All right, we will ask a question next. I have a very intriguing question. It pertains to golf. We may ask the question, Diesel. We may get brought over Seth Curry or Vince Young. Who knows?
Cheadle might be here too.
And that is the Avenger?
That's the Avenger.
Yeah, of course, I don't know him like I should. But we're playing the flexible game today. We may have a question for you, the Tolo. We may have a guest. Who knows? But we will continue the conversation on the other side. He is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. Are y'all waiting on us? I mean, our audience is sitting out there asking, hello, where are you at? I mean, Diesel and I are just sitting back talking, prop our feet up.
There's just so many celebrities walking around out here on the balcony that it's tough to get back to the microphone, Cole, and when you're just starstruck with everybody walking around.
I did get a text during the break that I do want to read on air. I will not say who it's from, but I got a couple of text messages prior to this, and it led me to send a text to somebody else, a source of mine in Columbia. I do know, I have been told, Diesel, that there are 4 candidates that Ray Tanner is in conversation with, and those are Godwin, Walter from Wake Forest, Monty Lee, and Pollard from Duke. So it appears to be a 4-man race right now for the South Carolina baseball job. Apparently, there also have been talks from Ray Tanner recently with Dan McDonald from Louisville. A conversation happened on Wednesday. From what I'm told, there's a lot of chatter about Walter from Wake Forest. So while we have had a lot of conversation about Monty Lee, Diesel, it seems as if right now it's a 4-man race, and I'm reading through the rest of these texts to make sure I'm not missing anything. But I tell you this, here's what's interesting about Monty Lee. As of today, Tanner has not had a formal conversation with current interim head coach Monty Lee. I was told by my source, I do believe that it will happen, though, before any decision is made. The two obviously have a great relationship, but the source feels sure that Tanner will want to have that detailed conversation.
Look, you and I have both applied for a lot of different jobs in our lifetime, and if I'm not having a conversation with my boss, and we're now a week into this process, and I haven't had a conversation about it, I am under the assumption, Cole, that I'm probably not wanted for the job. That's just me. That's just the way I look at it. And I could be wrong. I don't know how Monty Lee feels about things. I don't know if he feels like, I'm a shoo-in for this job, and I don't necessarily need to press the issue and go get it. But if I'm Monty Lee and I want this job, I am pushing, and doing everything I can do. And he's clearly doing that on the recruiting trail. We've seen that. A lot of big-name recruits over the last couple of days. A lot of the players who are already on the roster have come out with their support for Monty Lee. If I'm a South Carolina fan, Cole, I think the one that makes me the happiest and the most excited is probably Chris Pollard from Duke, who has got that ACC experience. He's coming off of an ACC championship, and Cole, he doesn't have any downside. He doesn't have any ties to Clemson, so the fans who just can't see past the end of their garnet glasses, they don't have that as an excuse anymore. They don't have the excuse of he doesn't have any Division I head coaching experience. I mean, even the coach at Wake Forest, he's got a few warts and doesn't have the all-time best record. So
I asked the question,
probably the easiest sell.
To you South Carolina fans that are listening right now, and again, Clemson fans, don't chime in right now. Just let the Gamecocks get in on this one because I know you will.
They won't.
But of the 4 that I have been told are the candidates, Godwin, Walter, Lee, and Pollard, Gamecock fans, if you would, 71307, start your text with the word fan. Phone line's also open as well, 844-FAN phone. That's 844-326-3663. Of the 4, make me a quick list. Who do you want the most? Who would you say the least? This guy maybe. So, like, for example, Walter, Lee, Pollard, and Godwin, I'd say if I were a South Carolina Gamecock fan, which I'm not, but if I'm going to pretend like I am, I'd say I'd want Pollard 1, Godwin 2, Walter 3, and Monty Lee 4. Those are my top 4. I think Lee would be 4.
Yeah, I think you could do a lot worse than Monty Lee. Even those of you Gamecock fans who are not high on the prospect of hiring Monty Lee, you should not be angry about it. You should not be disappointed with it. I think even with Monty Lee, you look at it as cautious optimism. The hope that a guy who won 65% of his games in the ACC can, with the additional resources that he has at South Carolina and the tradition and all the aura that you believe is still there, I think that could push you over the edge. So cautious optimism about Monty Lee, home run higher with Pollard, with I'm blanking on his name. Help me out. The coach at
ECU.
Wake Forest.
Oh, at Wake Forest is Tom Walter.
Yeah, I would look at Tom Walter as cautious optimism as well. And with the ECU head coach, I'm excited about him. So I either want the ECU coach or Pollard out of Duke, and the other two are still cautious optimism.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do think that's an interesting list. And, it is interesting that as soon as the firing of Mark Kingston was announced, these were the guys that everyone kind of pointed to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying Ray Tanner, but don't hear me wrong. I'm not saying Ray Tanner's listening to the fans, but I do think South Carolina fans know what they want. I think that they know what they want in their next head coach. And, I don't know if Godwin's as interested as a guy like Pollard, but I think Tom Walter's a really interesting potential hire if they were to go that route. And then, again, you have the guy who's the elephant in the room right now who seems to really be putting in the work on the recruiting trail in Monty Lee. But who they go with, I can't wait to see. It's going to be fantastic. I do think, Diesel, it will probably be – I don't think we'll hear anything next week. I think it'll be the week after next. I could be wrong.
Wow, you think that they drag South Carolina fans along this far? That's an interesting way to look at it, Cole, because how many of these coaching searches just they're taken care of quickly. They want to get if you're talking about football, they want to do this thing quickly, right?
But you know what, man?
They want to get that coach in to recruit as soon as they possibly can. So that's interesting that it's almost the opposite, at least in this situation. With baseball, is they want to slow things down and do the right thing, and maybe part of that is because Ray Tanner again knows that he has to get this one right, or it could be his job as well.
That's exactly what I was about to say, Diesel. Maybe if you told South Carolina fans, listen, you have to wait 3 weeks, but we're going to get it right. I think that they would absolutely wait the 3 weeks, and look, you're not missing out on much because Monty Lee is doing an incredible job on the recruiting trail. So, if they have to wait 3 weeks for the right guy, they have to wait 3 weeks, but it should be it should be really interesting. I can't wait to see what unfolds.
Update here from the patio at Thornblade. We are being told that they are efforting to bring on Ryan Leaf on the show, former number 2 overall pick, known as one of the biggest busts in NFL history.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he's not. Are
you going to say that when he?
No, I wouldn't. I'm not going to say that. But he's also he's got an incredible story as an inspirational speaker. So we are efforting to maybe bring Ryan Leaf on the show. Little live update here for you. The score update in the Tennessee Regional. Tennessee has now opened it up. They lead 11-5 over Evansville in the bottom of the 8th. When we come back, Cole, you have a very interesting question, and this may be a debate for everybody. They've got a different answer here. Is it more difficult to hit a still golf ball or a moving baseball? That's next here on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate.
Final hour of the show, final hour of the week, wrapping up your Friday on the Fan Upstate. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. This is the newest afternoon drive show. Diesel, you teased it. We're sitting at Thornblade Club, and I have to ask this question. We almost got into it yesterday. We just couldn't fully grasp it. And this may get cut short with an interview. If it does, fine. But I ask the question. Do you think it's harder, and I ask our Tolos as well, 71307, start your text with the word fan. You think it's harder to hit a still ball like a golf ball on a golf course, or do you think it's harder to hit a moving ball, I don't know, let's say 102-mile-an-hour fastball from Paul Skeens?
Well, as somebody who played both baseball and golf, terribly at both.
Professional.
I'm not saying I was any good at either one of those things. But a golf ball, Cole, think about the way the pros play. When you see Rory McIlroy line up, he's hitting the ball down the pipe every single time, right?
Yeah.
It's about repetition. It's about doing the exact same thing time and time again. Now you get really good. You can shape your shots. You can go around obstacles. You can do whatever you want to do. But ultimately, your goal is to hit it straight down the middle, right? If you can get to the point where you can repeat that motion enough times, you can be a good golfer. But with baseball, Cole, it's different every single time. You could say your swing plane needs to be relatively even every time you swing the bat.
Sure.
Right? But that ball is in a different position every time you swing the bat. So you do have to adjust the way you hit. You do have to adjust your stance. You have to move up in the box. You have to move back in the box. You have to do a lot of different things, Cole. So I'm going to say that hitting a baseball coming in at 100 miles an hour is harder, and doing it well, by the way.
Well, that's
is harder.
Key,
anybody can get lucky. Anybody can throw the bat out there and make contact, right? But I do think hitting a baseball is much harder than hitting a golf ball.
You know, this question, I believe yesterday was brought up by a Tolo. I believe a listener brought this up yesterday.
That's so.
And listen, I appreciate you doing that, listener. Whoever it was, I very much appreciate it. But I will say this. It's not a debate, because the bottom line is your point about Rory or Scotty Scheffler, when they get up there at the tee box, do those guys miss the golf ball ever? No. They'll hit it in the trees. They'll whack it around a little bit, right? But they're never missing the ball. I understand that golf is extremely hard, and I understand that. The more I get involved with it, the more I watch it up close and in person, Diesel, the more respect I have for professional golfers. But this is not a conversation. This is not even a question. Hitting a fastball, the best hitters in baseball don't even average 400 batting average. So, yeah, they're not even hitting it one out of every two shots, or one out of every two swings, rather. It is much harder to hit a moving ball. And I get that golf is a unique sport because it's the only sport that you can't master. I get all of that. But you won't ever be able to talk me into believing that hitting a ball that's sitting on the ground is more difficult than one coming in fast.
There's so much more of a mind game when it comes to baseball. Number one, you're having to guess. You're having to predict what you think the pitcher is going to throw. You have to recognize in a fraction of a second what the pitcher is doing with his hands, what he's doing with his release, rotation on the ball. Like, I can't even imagine. A ball coming in 100 miles an hour, Cole, is like, boom, it's there.
There, bam.
And so, I have to decide that quickly, or I'm going home, right? I got to go get a 9-to-5 job if I can't figure that out. So, I mean, I've got an immense amount of respect for golfers, but baseball is just harder, man. It's just harder.
I saw one time. Yeah, here's the stat for you. A 100-mile-per-hour fastball, Diesel, takes roughly 375 milliseconds to reach the plate. Do you hear that? 375 milliseconds for a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to reach the plate. For reference, the blink of an eye takes 300 to 400 milliseconds. So a 100-mile-an-hour fastball takes roughly 375.
And they're all throwing 100 now.
The fastballs are, yeah. The fastballs are. So the science behind it's absolutely fantastic. The brain, Diesel, has to process this fast object in about 75 to 100 milliseconds. Think about that. Your brain has to process a fastball at 100 miles an hour in 75 to 100 milliseconds. So You're limited by your nervous system, and golf, while it's a very difficult sport, there's nothing in golf that is as difficult as hitting a 100-mile-an-hour baseball. There's no way you can convince me otherwise.
And to compare that, Cole, to softball, I don't know if 55 is a fast pitch for softball. I mean, like, is that the tippy top of what the best softball pitchers in the game can do?
Okay.
But according to this, a 55-mile-an-hour softball pitch from a distance of 40 feet takes 0.495 seconds. You have half a second to figure it out.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
I've always heard that a softball is faster, gets there faster than a baseball pitch, but according to this, it's wrong.
Well, you never trust the internet.
Yeah, that's what the internet says.
Well, I know that softball.
Google anything, you'll find 3 websites that tell you one thing, 3 websites that tell you another thing, and 3 websites that want to show you 4 ads and a couple of videos before you get to the part of the article where you actually do get the information you want.
All right, now we're joined by celebrity guest Roy Hummers of Odyssey. Roy, I don't know what his stick is, man. He just refuses. You talk about team player. I mean, this is pitiful. I'm calling the boss. That's pitiful. He's laughing. All right, Diesel, I do want to hear this audio cut from Woj.
Yeah, this audio cut here, number 3, we were talking earlier about Dan Hurley and the LA Lakers courting him. We believe it's in the process where they're talking money at this point. But Adrian Wojnarowski here talks, Cole, about whether Dan Hurley can adapt his college style of coaching to the NBA.
Tonight, who made the jump from college to the NBA. And he said one of the really important things to remember, especially over 82 games, is that when a player makes a mistake, when he does something wrong, that you have to understand he's trying to do it right. He's trying to win. And sometimes you do have to correct him. Sometimes you have to show him. But often over an 82-game season, you better support him. You can't come down on him every time. That's what you have to learn in that job. Dan Hurley does understand to make this transition, he's going to have to adapt. I don't think it would happen overnight. I think it's going to be a process for any coach. But I think the college coaches who go to the NBA and have success, Billy Donovan, Quinn Snyder, Brad Stevens here in Boston, I think the couple of common denominators with them: 1, they know the players are the stars, and number 2, they've been a part of organizations that see the coach and the front office together in a program. That's what Rob Pelinka is trying to do in LA. That's why he wants Dan Hurley. He wants to have a program with these Lakers, not just team after team.
I just question, based on what he said there, does Dan Hurley want to be a coach? Does he want to be a molder of men, or does he want to be a manager?
Well, that's a fascinating question, because while you still coach basketball, Diesel, listen, I'm not saying college basketball isn't difficult, because with the transfer portal and NIL, it really is. But in the NBA, as a coach, you have so many more duties. You've got to coach, but guess what? You've also got to figure out what your GM wants. You've got to figure out how to be the best coach for your GM so that you can effectively manage the guys and bring in the right guys.
And you got to figure out what do your stars want, right? What keeps my stars happy, and how do I keep my star from wanting to go join another team as a star? I mean, it's
free agency.
It's free agency. It's transfer portal, man. You don't. It's a tough tough thing to navigate.
But here's what I want to see. I love Dan Hurley. I think Dan Hurley is fantastic. I want to see Dan Hurley go to the Lakers and just kill it. I mean, I want to see him go up there and win a title. I mean, it may take 5 years, it may take 6, 7 years. But, just imagine, I can think of, Phil Jackson or somebody like that. Phil Jackson's a legend. Everybody knows that. But Dan Hurley being able to say, okay, I've got 2 rings here from UConn, and I also won with the most storied and historic franchise in the NBA history with the LA Lakers. What else could you accomplish as a coach? I mean, it would be phenomenal. I want to see it. I want to see him go to the Lakers and win at a high level. And I don't know how the stars, LeBron and AD and the guys who they have coming in, I don't know how they would react. But I think it'd be fascinating. I really do.
Talking there about wanting to build a program in LA. They've had 7 coaches in the last 13 years since Phil Jackson retired, since he left Los Angeles. Mike Brown, Bernie Bickerstaff, Mike D'Antoni, Byron Scott, Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, Darvin Ham. They're trying to find some stability, right? They're trying to find anybody who can be with this team more than 2 or 3 years. And, I mean, I don't want to see Dan Hurley leave college basketball. I love seeing dominance at that level. I mean, we have a quote here from Pat Forty where he said, losing Dan Hurley would be a huge blow for college basketball. It would really hurt in a time that needs the next Roy Williams, a time that needs the next Mike Krzyzewski, somebody who can provide that level of stability within the sport, even if it's not your team, right? Like there's something comforting about having a coach and knowing there's a coach somewhere in this sport who doesn't want to leave it, who's not constantly trying to get the bigger, better deal and get out of town.
That's a side that we haven't discussed, right? Like, we know that he would succeed. We think he would succeed in the NBA. But something that we haven't discussed is what it would do for college basketball, Diesel. To your point, I agree with you. I think it would hurt the game. Are there still plenty of coaches in college who are quality coaches? Sure. But Dan Hurley's the best.
Yeah.
And I think that college basketball, losing him, I know UConn's not the sexiest and flashiest team that people pull for, but they are a blue blood. Like it's the equivalent of losing a Mike, or Coach K, or Roy. To me, it is. It's the equivalent.
UConn is absolutely a blue blood. I mean, is it as sexy as North Carolina? Is it as sexy as Duke, Kansas, Kentucky? No. I mean, would the game benefit from Dan Hurley being at one of those schools more than it would from him being at UConn? Probably.
I think so.
I mean, it's that brand that people know. I mean, when people think UConn, Cole, they think women's basketball, even though the men's basketball program has been just as good over the past 15 to 20 years. It would be an absolute shame, though, to see him leave and to create that precedent, Cole, that college basketball is second tier.
So I'm glad you brought up UConn's women. Did you hear what the conversation was between Gino and Dan Hurley? Did you hear about that?
No.
So this was just a few days ago, okay? Dan Hurley, we all know who he is and what he's done. I'm pulling up the article as we speak. So here is Gino Auriemma. He was on the Dan Patrick Show earlier this week. The quote goes by Gino when asked about Dan Hurley. He said, it's really funny because I happened to be at the thing with him last night, some kind of function. Gino says, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea where this is going and what's happening. I just leaned over to Dan and said, hey, I think you can win a lot of games, a lot of championships with the Lakers, more so than a guy who's never coached, talking about J.J. Redick, right? So the conversation was being had about J.J. Redick. Gino Auriemma leans over to Dan Hurley and says, hey, I think you can win championships with the Lakers. The quote goes, he just looked at me and nodded. We had a good laugh. And then this morning I woke up and voila. So I don't know what's going on, says Gino. It would be a bad day for UConn for sure if this happens.
So it's all Gino's fault. He planted the seed.
He spoke it into existence.
Maybe he was trying to say, you know what? I'm tired of the attention being pulled off the women's team here. I want to kill the men's team, the men's program, and get all the attention back on me.
He spoke. I mean, it's incredible. He spoke it into existence. Again, I don't know if it'll happen, but they did meet today. They may be meeting right now. I don't know.
What's Doc Rivers doing right now?
Doc Rivers is coaching for in his 18th job, it seems like. Doc Rivers has been a guy that's going around circle after circle after circle, but he's now coaching the Bucks.
If at first or second or third or 19 times you don't succeed, hire him again.
And Doc Rivers has done that. Doc Rivers has been the epitome of that. He has gotten job after job after job after job.
Texter says a 70-mile-per-hour softball is equivalent to a 95-mile-an-hour baseball pitch.
That is a fascinating text because it's true. Thomas, is that right?
Yes.
Thomas, Cole Bryson.
Thomas, have a seat. We'll put a headset on you. We'll get you set up here.
Have an interview coming up right now with someone who just got off the course. And if I mess your last name up, I apologize. Rosenmuller, is that right?
That's right.
I got it right, man.
First try.
That's the first time I've ever gotten somebody's last name right. German golfer, is that correct as well?
That's correct, yeah.
Thomas Rosenmueller joining us right here on Wire to Wire. We'll start with this. How'd you play today?
I play well. Shots 4 under today. I'm currently sitting in 12. Was a fun day. I mean, it got really hot there in the end. It's nice and humid.
The sun beating down on you?
Yeah, especially in like the holes 6 and 7 in the trees. It's just beating down on you. There's no airflow. And it just feels like you're sitting in a sauna. So
Thomas, we had a guest on earlier today, Major League Baseball pitcher David Wells. He threw a perfect game. He's a legend in the sport of baseball. I asked him about his greatest shot, and he told me about a shot that he hit here at Thornblade a few years ago where he got lucky. He put one off to the right of the green up on a hill, and it rolled down, and he hit a hole-in-one. I don't know if it was right here at number 9, but that sure describes what we see right down here below us, below this patio. Can you tell us what's the luckiest shot you've ever hit in a tournament, or maybe the luckiest shot you hit today if you hit one?
Luckiest shot probably, I mean, there's 2 of them. Last year in Boise, I was kind of like borderline keeping my card or not heading into the playoffs. And I holed out 2 wedges from the middle of the fairway in the final round to finish 3rd. So it was quite an interesting day when you're like, oh, one goes in, and then, like 9 holes later, there's another one that just drops perfectly in the middle. You're like, well, this might be my day. Ended up making like 10 birdies, shooting like 8 under, finishing 3rd. It was like,
what's that feeling like when you start having that kind of day? You get into that groove. Can you describe that feeling? Like, do you know it before it starts to happen and have a sense of like, I think this could be a day where this happens, or it just surprises you?
It's kind of surprising, but you don't really think. It's like a blacking out. You just do.
Yeah.
It's like you ask the best golfers in the world when they have played their best rounds. There's nothing in their head. It's just, this is where I want to hit it. This is the club I'm hitting. And it just happens. You don't really think. You just kind of get into that groove of where it's just happening. And I think it's fairly similar in all the other sports. Like, you stop thinking about it. You just do it, and it just starts to happen. And you want to try to stay in that, vacuum almost as long as you can. Sometimes you get, knocked out of it by any distractions, as with our sports, some spectators yelling. You never know. Or it's just, like a bad shot, and you worry about something.
Yeah.
So, but there's some rounds where you actually just black out and you have no idea what's going on.
Thomas Rosenmueller joining us on the Fan Upstate this evening. Thomas, tell us about the Korn Ferry. Have you been on the PGA as well, or how long have you been on the Korn Ferry?
So this is my 3rd year on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Gotcha.
I haven't quite made it yet to the PGA Tour. Trying to work on that this year.
Right.
Obviously, I've played some European Tour events, or what's now called the DP World Tour. So I've been around, been multiple tours, played pretty much all over the world at this point, and now call the USA my home.
That's awesome, man.
Talk to us about the relationship that you have with your caddy. I don't want to ask the same. We've asked this question of a couple of different golfers. Cole here has a chance to caddy in this tournament tomorrow, but he's never caddied before. He's not sure what he's doing. Talk to us about how important it is and the relationship you have with your caddy, the information that you get from him on a daily basis. Are you the type of guy who likes a lot of input from your caddy, or do you want him to stay out of the way?
So there's multiple levels to this. So if you're first time caddying and you end up caddying in a professional event, there's the 3 ups. Shut up and keep up are the most important ones. It's just kind of, you're mostly trying to stay out of the way, right? So the relationship with my caddy, a lot of pros or a lot of caddies see themselves as employees. Obviously, we employ them, so they work for us. But in the end of the day, it's a partnership, right? The better I do, the better the caddy's doing, and the happier everybody is. And that's kind of the relationship I'm having with my caddy. We're good friends. We're hanging out outside the golf course at certain tournaments. Just depending on what our schedule looks like, right? I call him in when I'm unsure, for example, about putts.
Sure.
There's sometimes you just stand over it. For us, we look at it, we instantly know, all right, this is what it's going to do. And we usually end up making that putt.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's just putt and we're like, this doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't look like this. And that's when you oftentimes call your caddy in. And obviously that's when the information is important. But when I'm out there and we're hitting shots, it's how far is it? Where do we want to hit it? Which club? That's it. No more, nothing about, oh, you don't want to be here. You don't want to be there. We just talk about this is where we want to hit it. This is the club. This is the distance. Fire away.
Thomas, I know you got to run in a minute, but I want to ask from someone from Germany, from outside the U.S., how do people view PGA and LIV from the outsider's viewpoint?
the people that I know from back home, they honestly, they're sad that it's kind of been split up, and certain players in my home club in Germany, we have a European Tour event, and certain players can't show up anymore because they're now at Live. Sergio Garcia, Henrik Stenson, Martin Keimer, to name a few. But in the end of the day, it's like, it's a job, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody tells you here you make guaranteed more money and you might have to work less hours, in the end of the day, if you want to talk about the competitiveness, we all want to compete, but in the end of the day, it's our job. The goal is to win and obviously to live off of this. I didn't do this to make money. I mean, it turned out to be a hobby, and I turned out to be really, really good at it to eventually make a living off of it. But that wasn't necessarily always the goal. I wanted to be a professional golfer, but it wasn't, for the money. If it was for the money, I would have done something else. I would probably be better off by now.
Thomas Rosenmuller, thanks so much for a couple minutes of your time today. Good luck over the last round or two that you have here, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, man.
Thank you much.
Appreciate you. Good to meet you.
That is Thomas Rosenmuller. Thanks for joining us on the show today. When we come back, Cole, we're told that we'll have Ryan Leaf, former NFL quarterback. I know Madcraft, who is a Chargers fan, is going to be excited to hear one of his biggest draft picks on his team ever joining us on Wire to Wire on the Fan Upstate.
Off now at 844-FAN phone.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
You know, Matt Kraft is excited. He's tweeted, he messaged us, #BoltUp. Ryan Leaf set to join us here in just a couple of minutes. He's getting cleaned up downstairs at the clubhouse, and he's going to come up and join us on the patio.
Here's what I want to ask Ryan Leaf. I don't know how old he is now. What is he, 40s?
47, 48.
If he could stand in that corner, that patio, and hit that goose down there on that pond, you think?
Could he throw a football over that mountain? That's what I want to know.
What mountain? We don't have mountains in Greenville. Are you kidding me?
We're in Greer, believe it or not.
Greer.
Yeah, the address is Greer.
Welcome to the upstate, right? I mean, this is not. I mean,
it's we're not even going.
We're on the other
town
side
by town. We're going neighborhood by neighborhood. That's a different town.
Let me look at this. So you're telling me we're between Pelham and Wade Hampton, and GSP, and we're in Greer. You know, I think GSP is a Greer airport too. I think it is.
Is it?
I mean, a Greer address.
Well, and whenever we bring things up, Cole, like unifying the area, you know, basically we're talking about Greenville incorporating other areas, other towns, and say, guess what? You don't live in Greer anymore.
Yeah.
You live in Greenville now. We get massive pushback on that. I mean, it's urban creep. That's what happens. Towns always get bigger, and that's not to say that Houston is this huge town, right? It is Houston in the middle with Dallas. It's it's the same way, but there is a fierce protection of the dividing lines in this area.
Well, here's the only thing that I'm not loving, and you mentioned this the other day off air, and we hadn't gotten to this on air yet. I don't know if I love us getting the new area code. How is this happening? Are we splitting this up?
It's 821. That'll be the new area code. I'm guessing, Cole, if you just get a new phone number. So it won't be an area code, like an area difference. Like if you live on the west side of Greenville now, you're 821. Guess what? No, I think it'll be more of a if you establish new phone lines.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find some details on 821 area code.
Yeah. I don't like it at all.
I don't like it. I'm not happy with it. Ryan Lee, how you doing, man? Cole Bryson.
Ryan,
good to meet you.
Diesel. Pleasure.
I hate shaking y'all's hands. I mean, y'all have these massive hands, these athletes. We'll get you on that headset right there, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll get you lined up.
So I have been fooled all day. I've been thinking everybody's drinking beer, but evidently they sell water in cans now. Is that what we're doing?
So it's called Liquid Death. Okay. Mountain water. That's not a great endorsement. Sorry, Liquid Death. But yeah, a kid came up to me and asked me to sign it, and I was same with you, and I'm like, bro, I'm an alcoholic. I ain't signing your stuff. All right. And then somebody said, no, man, it's water. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll sign your Liquid Death water. All right, packaging it for kids. I guess it's all marketing as far back as you can go, right? All right.
Ryan, how'd you hit him today? How'd you play?
I played great today.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Wow.
I couldn't have played more different than I did yesterday today.
Yeah.
And I just think I felt real at ease with my pro after spending the day with him. My brother was my caddy, and we just had a talk last night. Like I just made things work. I just made things more difficult yesterday. I was like stressed out about it. It's the first time I've ever played in anything like this. My competitive juices come out, and I didn't hit it well, and so I got upset, and I didn't realize what I was trying to do out there, and that was on holes that I stroke with my pro to get it in for a par,
Yeah.
and so we can do it. And him and I really hammed it and egged it well today, and I think I shot 81. So that was really good for me. A straight tournament. 39 on the front, didn't kind of fell apart a little bit and made a lot of bogeys on the back, but I was really good on 17 and 18 when Golf Channel's cameras were on me, so that's good.
So I have to ask, I saw you tweet about it, and I saw it yesterday for the first time. Our listeners were sending it to me. Have you ever seen an interaction where a reporter is talking to somebody and just completely gets it wrong with the Citadel coach thinking it was Vince Young?
I have, of course. I have. I've been. One interview person was calling me Matty Ice one time.
Oh,
yeah, and so I took it as a huge compliment because, I'm I don't know, 15 years older than Matty Ice. And I'm like, yeah, I look that young, And our boy Everett Sands, who I don't know if there could have been a more gracious and patient answer than what he did, and it just shows what kind of man he is. And we got to talk to her, and I loved what she did last night. She just put it out there. She owned it. It was her first day,
Yeah.
you know, and
if that's the worst thing that happens to her, I mean,
I grabbed her, and I said, hey, I'm in broadcasting now. I mean, I got so much more worse stuff than you do out there. You're good to go, and people love when you take accountability, own your stuff. Made a mistake, you know, first day jitters will never happen again. I know that. You know, that's the way she did it, and so I'm really proud of her. Really proud of Everett and the great running back coach they have at the Citadel. That's awesome.
For sure.
Ryan Leaf, former second overall pick, joins us here on Wire to Wire at Diesel and Cole Bryson. How much does it break your heart to see what's happening with the Pac-12? The way that conference has just, you know, disintegrated down to almost nothing. And what would you like to see happen with the schools that are still there?
Well, the best thing they did is they understood the law, and they took the other 10 schools to task and got to keep the brand, got to keep the media rights money. And I think that's the bigger thing here, because they're able to keep the other programs alive that are going, women's volleyball, men's baseball, all these that were going to have to go away because they just didn't have the budget to fund it. And now they do for the next 2 years until the next media rights deal goes through. And I think it's going to look, and the landscape's going to look totally different. And they're going to be right back in the mix because there's going to be teams outside the National Collegiate Football League, which I think is what it's going to be a couple years from now. They'll be right back in the mix. And so these next 2 years, what they're going to get to do is they're going to kind of get to show their dominance a little bit, play some Mountain West schools, maybe sneak up on the likes of Washington, and they get the rivalry with Oregon State, the two Pac-2 teams in the Pac-12 now. And, I think it could be a fun couple years. It's disappointing because the conference was so darn good last year, and the chancellors and the presidents, along with the commissioner at the time, just dropped the ball like you wouldn't believe. And the fact that there isn't going to be a Pacific Conference out there,
sure,
it's incredibly disappointing.
So tell us about your involvement with the tournament, what it means to you, and how those listening obviously can get involved.
Well, Michael Collins, the caddy, him and I played in a charity event a few weeks ago, and I told him how much I enjoyed doing this type of thing, and sure enough, Michael McGovern called me. I mean, it wasn't a week later. And what's so great about this tournament is that the local community gets so tied into it, right? Everything that's done here is for local charity.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to this. I, for the longest time, took so much stuff for granted. I thought for my life to get better, it had to be about me.
Yeah.
That's, I think, how most people feel. As it turns out, and it was a lesson I finally did learn, is to make your life better, you make it about other people.
That's good.
And that's what this community does, this event does. And the grace that I get for being invited to do something like this, I mean, this is amazing. I get to compete with these great athletes doing something I love to do. My brother was on the bag, and the fans and the community. I love upstate South Carolina. I'm going to be back in September, actually, speaking in Greenwood at a recovery breakfast. So, maybe this community, I'm going to come back here every year if I can to be part of this. So.
Ryan, your positivity is something that's much needed in this world. We got so much negativity floating around everywhere you look. I would love to get your thoughts as a college football analyst on something that Cole and I have had a lot of debate about over the past couple of months and years. Dabo Swinney, we know that he is a leader of men. We know that he is a believer. We know that he wants to impact a lot of these guys in a positive way, the best way he possibly can. But we also know that his policy with regards to the transfer portal and NIL, and he says, I've used the portal, I've tried to use the portal, I've put out offers, but we're not getting the guys we need. Do you believe in this modern landscape of college football that you can be a top 10 program without using the portal, not getting the best of the best? You need a great wide receiver, you go get him out of the portal. You need a quarterback, you can't plug holes without it. So do you think his policy can be successful at the highest level right now?
I mean, it was before. I mean, you can always get transfers, and the JC model was huge, and he never used the JC model either. He developed homegrown players. The unfortunate thing is nowadays, even the guys that he gets as freshmen, if they feel like they're being snubbed or not treated well, they always have to be recruited now. And that's the difference. Like, he could go hard at these guys and try to coach them hard, knowing that they couldn't just go, right? Mm-hmm. He was going to develop them from the beginning. That doesn't exist anymore. Dabo can be a taskmaster because he knows he's trying to to push these kids to be the best possible versions of themselves. These kids aren't taking that stuff in. There's a ton of entitlement that comes with the portal. Now, I'm all for college kids getting a chance. If they want to play college football, the chance of you playing in the NFL is slim to none. It is. It's 1% of the 1%. So if you get a chance to go play college football somewhere else, I am totally in support of that. I don't think that it necessarily needs to change for him. I think a lot of people are focusing on that. There's still really good football players that Clemson goes and gets. And unfortunately, the homegrown ones, you don't see start as freshmen and end up seniors there anymore. It's rare. If you get a great one out of high school, if he's not playing right away or if he doesn't feel loved, he'll jump in that portal and go somewhere else. And then you're out that guy that you're developing. And because he doesn't go get those portal guys, you're limited with the talent that you have. So he says he does, and I understand that it's got to fit his criteria for what is a Clemson man. Unfortunately, you look at what Mike Norvell's been able to do. I don't know if he's just got such a keen eye. I've spent the last couple of years working with Mike Norvell and spending time in Tallahassee. He just has a really keen eye of finding the right mercenaries that become a huge team, part of a team there. I mean, that's hard to do, to go find guys and pluck them out of, obscurity from being in programs somewhere else and get them to play team football together. That's impressive. And I think that would be the thing that Dabo would be really good at, and maybe he should, throw his rod in the river for that one.
Hey, we appreciate you hopping on. My last question for you, Ryan. What is one thing, obviously you're well known. You had a very historic draft with you and Peyton Manning. What's one thing that a lot of people don't know about Ryan Leaf?
I don't know. I feel like I've been pretty an open book. I don't know. Everybody kind of knows all my scars and everything like that. Well, it's just relatively new. I'm a girl dad, 6 months.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
Thank you. I had a baby girl 6 months ago. I'll be 65 when she graduates high school. So I started this late. No one knows this because no one ever sees it. I am a movie fiend. I go to the movie theater and see movies in the theater at least 3 times a week.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a Stubbs AMC member. I pay like $19.95 a month, and I can see 12 movies a month for $19.95.
You going tonight?
I'm not going. There's not an AMC anywhere near Greenville. I looked.
Spartanburg.
It wasn't showing up on the map.
Are you serious?
It wasn't. Maybe they got.
Tell me I'm wrong on this.
Well, anyway, I'm a huge movie guy. I'll see anything. I like for 2 hours just kind of getting outside myself. And what's ironic, and it was something I never thought I'd be able to get back to, when I was really deep in my drug use, I would go to movies and I would be muted and numbed.
Yeah.
And I love movies, and it would just escape, and I would feel like that was the answer. And so when I got sober, I thought I wasn't going to be able to enjoy movies anymore. So I started just, it's relearning everything and doing everything. And I started going to movies again sober, and I found out that it wasn't that. Is that I just enjoyed movie making.
Wow.
And so, I go whenever I can. I even started a production company. So we make a lot of content. My wife pretty much is the creative part of it all.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that is something you probably didn't know about me.
That's awesome.
Well,
That's
Ryan,
awesome.
I'm going to spend about 14 hours of my weekend in theaters this weekend. I'm going to see day by day all 3 of the Lord of the Rings movies being re-released in theaters tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday, the extended edition. So I'll be there a lot.
Is this been publicized?
Yeah, it's. I think it's almost nationwide. I think it's Regal Cinemas.
Well,
that's what we have here is Regal.
Okay.
We have a lot of Regals.
Well, bro, if that's it, I might be in the same place as
Let's
you.
go.
All right.
Let's go. I'll text you and let you know which theater I'm going to be at. We have one. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question for one of our hardcore Tolo listeners. It means turn it on, leave it on. He is a huge Chargers fan. He wants to know your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh being back in the NFL again.
Oh, I love it. Jim taught me how to be a professional. Like my first year in the league, I couldn't have done more to disrupt it and to burn it down to the ground. And then Jim shows up, and he taught me how to be a professional quarterback. And he was such a competitor. I've never met a guy that competed as hard as him. and it was good. I won the job in year 3 competing against him as the starting quarterback. And soon as that competitive thing switched off, when he knew he wasn't winning the job, like he turned into the coach. He became my mentor and just taught me how to do everything the right way. And so him being there with Justin, this was exactly what the Chargers needed. Yeah. For as good and talented as they were, the biggest liability was Brandon Staley. As hard as he wanted to go and trying to, support the players by going for it on 4th down and doing things like that, he was just so negative and was the liability of that team. And now you got a guy that is absolutely going to know what to do in every situation and turn Justin Herbert into not only a great quarterback, but because of Jim Harbaugh and what he's going to be able to do over the next decade, I think, in Los Angeles, Justin Herbert's going to become a Hall of Famer.
Ryan, fantastic interview. Thank you for spending an extra few minutes with us, and we'll hopefully talk to you again one day.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you see a few dollars show up in your bank account, Madcraft says he's going to buy a Ryan Leaf jersey today.
There you go.
So there you go. See a couple bucks that came from him right here in the upstate.
That's
Thank you
Ryan
so
Leaf,
much.
man. Fantastic stuff right here on Wire to Wire. A lot of interaction from our audience on the text line as well as on the stream. Let's hit a quick break. Come back. We may have one more guest to finish off the week right here on the Fan Upstate. Bill Haas. him. And, man, I tell you, I find it inspiring to talk to somebody like that, Diesel, that really has no problem saying, look, I have a pretty rough past with some drugs and alcohol involvement, but that's a guy right there that has no issue saying, yeah, he went through some pretty tough stuff, but also came out of it. And I love hearing stories about that.
And he knows that that by talking about it, by reliving what it was that he went through and what it was that he struggled with, that he has the ability to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you heard him. He said he's going to be back here in Greenwood in just a couple of months talking to some people. So he has an opportunity to do a lot of good right here in the upstate. And we, of course, we appreciate his time. And, he's one of the most compelling stories that we've heard in a long time. And Cole, is as big as fans we are, big of fans as we are of college football, it's fantastic to get a media member's perspective who's spent his now media career covering the Pac-12, and to get words directly from him on just the collapse of that conference.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating, because here on the East Coast we can talk to whoever we want about ACC football or SEC ball, but it's hard to get those Pac-12 voices. I remember when the news came down that Washington was gone and Oregon was gone. I believe it was Mina Kimes. I could be wrong. Mina Kimes from ESPN, who was talking about who was an alum of Oregon. No, I take that back. It was the show that comes on after us. The female host on the show that comes on after us.
Oh, on BetQL.
Yeah. She's an Oregon alum, and she was talking about, she was just dumbfounded at what was happening.
Yeah.
And just heartbroken at what was happening. So to get a guy like that was great.
Is it Trista Crick?
Trista, there you go. Thank you.
She is really good, by the way. But, Ryan, I think what's so fascinating about his career, man, like when you sit down and think about it, it gives you goosebumps if you're a sports fan, because, Diesel, this guy was drafted second. And many people many draft pundits thought that he should have been drafted over Peyton Manning. In that same draft, Peyton went first to the Indianapolis Colts. Ryan Leaf goes second to the San Diego Chargers. And I think it's so fascinating that a guy like Ryan Leaf, who has so much potential, he shows Diesel that even though you can make it to the NFL, I think we all fail to realize in today's world just how difficult it is to be successful. Like we say, these guys are dropping balls. They're not playing defense in the NBA. They're not doing this in baseball. It is hard, and it just makes you respect the guys who do it at a high level when you talk to guys like Ryan Leaf.
It does. To get a little update on what we're seeing in the college baseball super regionals, Tennessee has dispatched Evansville 11-6. North Carolina is down now 1-0 to West Virginia, the bottom of the third of the regional there in Chapel Hill. Cole, I found this really fascinating. This is a story that you and I haven't spent a lot of time covering, though. If you're a football fan, you're probably aware of this, but a class action lawsuit got underway on Thursday in federal court in Los Angeles, a case that started almost 9 years ago in 2015, a claim that the NFL conspired to put the squeeze on its biggest fans and drive up the price of DirecTV's Sunday ticket so that subscribers would be forced to pay top dollar to watch the full array of games. If you're a football fan, you know that watching every single game is expensive. What do we do? We know about the new deal with Netflix and the NFL, and we looked it up. What would the total number of subscriptions cost you to be able to watch?
AOFM. A lot of
effing money. Yeah, it was just a ton of money. But the allegation, Cole, is that the NFL colluded with network partners CBS and Fox, along with DirecTV, and controlled the pricing of Sunday Ticket to ensure that it remained expensive, thereby violating antitrust laws. I guess that would say they colluded and said, hey, CBS, Fox, Direct, don't lower your prices, don't compete on price, don't try to undercut the other guys so that you can get the games on your networks for cheaper. The class action lawsuit, Cole, was filed on behalf of more than 2.5 million residential subscribers and 48,000 restaurants, bars, and other commercial establishments that show games. Among those expected to testify either in person or virtually are Roger Goodell, Jerry Jones, and Robert Kraft.
Imagine that.
So a ton of money is at stake here, Cole. The plaintiffs are estimating $7 billion in damages for a period between 2011 and 2022. 20, to put that in perspective, $21 billion is enough to buy an entire 4-team division. You could buy 4 NFL teams for the amount of money that the NFL has at stake here. And Cole, for a league that has expanded and expanded and expanded voraciously over the past 25 years, this could really hurt them. Of course, we know what's going to happen. They're probably going to settle. If there's a case here, which if it's going to federal court, they're going to end up settling. And, if you're a DirecTV subscriber who had Sunday Ticket in those years, you're probably going to get a little money back.
It's an outrageous, suit, if you want to call it that. I do think that we're heading in a horrible direction, with the way that the common person has to watch sports, but it's really, really fascinating.
Well, this is fascinating to me, Cole, because I don't know if this is the first time, but these are subscribers essentially suing an entertainment provider for making their product too expensive to watch.
Well, that's true. It's exactly what it is.
I mean, now if you're a fan of MTV or Nickelodeon, you could sue. You could class action sue and say, no. We don't want our MTV to go up in price. We want our MTV to stay exactly where it is. We don't want our Major League Baseball network to go up in price. We're going to sue you to keep the prices low.
It's crazy.
And, we're in an unprecedented era of where you can sue and win for a lot of different things. We're watching players sue again and again and again to get their way. So it's just fascinating to watch, and I think the NFL is going to end up paying some guys some money back. It's been Wire to Wire live here from Thornblade Golf Club. 2 more days left in this BMW Charity Pro-Am. It's been a blast to be here on the patio this afternoon. Thank you to all of our guests.
Hello.
Thank you to everybody who helped put this thing together. We'll see you guys back here on the Fan Upstate on Monday.
Y'all are clear. Great job.